Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
The Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Felix Rosenquist, he wins the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Good Monday morning to you out there. Thank you for starting your week with us. We are in studio here downtown Indianapolis. A couple of weekend days up there in Westfield, the Drop Light Grand Park campus. 9 practices in for the Colts. 4 to go. They are off to enemy territory coming up today for a joint practice Tuesday, and the preseason opener is Thursday. James Boyd, you're flying out later this morning, correct?
Yes, sir. I'll be leaving right after the show. Flight is at, I think, 11:11. It boards at 10:46. So I'll be getting a move on it, but I love the Indianapolis airport, so I have no anticipation of problems.
Red Sox in town, anything planned for your trip?
Not really. I did see that the Basketball Hall of Fame is about an hour and a half from where I'll be staying, so I'm tempted to
Springfield, Mass?
Yeah, I have a rental car, so I'm tempted to make that move. Joel put the bug in me. Joel A. Erickson, friend of the show, Colts reporter for Andy Starr, mentioned that it's not too far. So depending on when I land and things like that, we'll see.
Red Sox on the road, probably much to the chagrin of Joel A. Erickson, who will join us coming up here at 8 o'clock. We'll talk a little Patriots. Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald at 9:30. So, again, joint practice Tuesday. First preseason game coming up Thursday. Colts will be back in Westfield Saturday and Sunday. It is their final Colts v. Colts practices of training camp. Atlanta Falcons for joint sessions coming up in about a week and a half, and that will conclude things in Westfield. So we've got 2 practices to recap since we last joined you. We've got a lot of that to go over. And the Indiana Fever, they won on Saturday. Mark, did you put in here drama with the Fever? Did you say that here on the
I
title?
did, yeah.
That's
just a tad bit.
That's news to me. I've never heard fever and drama in the same sentence.
Well,
it's been such a simple season. Nothing happens.
Mark, you probably got a little bit of WWE action there on Saturday with one of those plays there involving Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah, we needed an extra official. We need someone to get tossed. Get off ringside. Go out. Go take a breather.
Mark, how was the weekend for you?
Very good. Exhausting. I don't think I've sweat that much. I've seen James Boyd's Instagram videos where he's sweating. I was on James Boyd level with all the yard work I was doing. Had to get a jackhammer, get rid of a concrete step that was bothering us. I was dripping in sweat.
I didn't know you had that in you.
I have that dog. Every once in a while he comes out. He's an older dog now, but he's got some pup in him.
James, we're doing the majority of the sweating up in Hamilton County.
I've seen you for 8, 9 straight days now?
Yeah, you and I have seen each other a whole lot here. We won't see each other for the next 48 hours or so as you head to Foxborough. But anything just general from these last 2 days? Again, full padded practices continue for the Colts. The injury list is growing a little bit here. I'd say a little up and down from a quarterback standpoint. What'd you witness?
AJ Halsey got his first pick of training camp. And actually, give a shout out to Jake Arthur, Locked On Colts, standing next to him yesterday, Kevin. He's like, boy, it just feels like AJ Halsey is due for an interception. And he gets one on the very next play. It was kind of a slight overthrow from Daniel Jones, but I thought it was a good play by the rookie to basically tip drill it and catch it off of the tip. And then on top of that, I thought that the defense looked a little sharper, in my opinion, than they had probably during that night practice last week. And Latu was pretty, I think, disruptive. And so, of course, you can't really judge offensive or defensive linemen when you're not actually able to hit. But I counted a lot of perhaps would-be sacks for number 97.
Yeah, I thought he definitely made his presence felt on Saturday, probably the most I've seen so far in training camp. You know, I kind of look at the last 2 days, and Josh Downs has missed with a groin injury. It does sound like Downs could participate as early as tomorrow. Again, that joint practice with the Patriots. But life without Pierce, life without Downs, to me, has shown up the last couple of days. I think it's been the hardest for Daniel Jones to move things.
That's
with
a good
that
point. Yeah.
Starting offense. And you know, I always try to make sure, like when we talk, even Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard, I always try to mention, like, hey, it's not just the quarterbacks that might be struggling. Like, it's their unit. Because, anytime I think you go into the second and the third team, I mean, that's 10 other quote unquote backups that these guys are playing with. And I would argue they probably lack more cohesion than the starting unit. The starting unit is usually pretty locked in stone day in and day out. So, you have some familiarity, some continuity there. Whereas you get in the second and third teams and you rotate constantly there. So, yeah, I thought yesterday in particular was probably the hardest for that starting offense to move the football. And then you go back to Saturday, and it was a very tight end running back centric day for Daniel Jones. And to me, it's a little bit of the life without Alec Pierce right now, which doesn't sound like it's ending anytime soon. And Josh Downs, which does sound like his absence will be ending here somewhat soon. And I guess we can get into the Colts signing a wide receiver with familiarity with Shane Steichen later today.
Let's do that. I think the listeners will want an update. And then perhaps, hopefully, you stay with us after the update.
Yeah, the Colts made a roster move on that front there. Again, the Fever have 2 home games coming up this week, Liberty and Wings. Those both are notable from a standings point of view. I mean, 2 teams right there with the Fever. So looking forward to this matchup. But James, on Saturday, they get the win. Dejanay Carrington, I guess a flagrant 2 is the official ruling on that. Gets tossed from the game. She takes to social media afterwards, throws out the phrase of white privilege there. Has the W commented on any of this?
Not to my knowledge, but I commented on it. I said on social media she's a completely unserious person. And
does she have a little history of some edginess?
She does.
Yeah.
She definitely brings it, and that's fine, but you can't clothesline somebody and then blame it on race. You were ejected because you clotheslined her, not because of anything going on when it comes to the color of your skin. So I just cannot even entertain that idea. I do think that race plays a factor in some things when it comes to sports and society, but not on that play whatsoever. So, yeah, that was interesting. It made it for a spicy game. And honestly, she was the best player for the Sky during that game and hurt her team in the process. And I thought the funniest part about the play, which I don't think was funny to be clear, I'm glad Sophie's okay, but she made the shot anyway.
Yeah.
So you get ejected for the flagrant 2. She makes the shot. You run on social media and say something completely asinine, and then your team loses. So there is nothing to really gain from that. She did tweet out or put on threads later on, like the date of their next game. Like she's circling on the calendar. But yeah, I was a little surprised at just how that all went down. And Sophie's pretty tough. Pop right back up.
You think the fact that it was her, Sophie Cunningham, had something to do with it? Like, do you think Dejanay Carrington has the same foul if it's KK Timpson on a fast break or if it's Lexi Hall on a fast break?
I'm not sure, to be honest. And that's why I would like to hear from Dejanay Carrington herself. Explain yourself. Why did you do this? Was there any history here? I don't want to pretend like I'm in her brain or in her mind, but the bottom line is a dirty play. The refs got it right in the moment, which they haven't in the past throughout this season. And I just, again, can't really entertain any sort of other interpretation of what she did.
Yeah, one thing the refs did not get right in the moment was the technical foul on Caitlin Clark there.
Boy.
That was rescinded, I think, before Caitlin Clark
I was
even
going to say, I think you might have blinked and it was
hit the shower after the game. So she will not be suspended for Tuesday. For those that missed that, the technical foul has gone away as it should have.
Do you want to explain just a little bit of like why it was given in the first place or what the official initially said?
Yeah, so, over the run of play, we do see this occasionally where players, bump into officials or run into officials or, there's 3 officials on the floor. Naturally, you're going to have some of that interaction. One of those occurred with Caitlin Clark, and it seems like with everything Clark or Fever related, everyone just panics. Like everyone is just nth degree, panicky, oh my gosh, I know the spotlight's on me. I have to do something. And sure enough, she gets whistled for a tech in that moment there. I actually, there was when I saw it happen, I thought to myself, oh boy, Caitlin might explode so much she might get a second technical. I guess
I did think about that though.
Right. And like, I don't know if I really would have been that mad at her about it because, it was so ridiculous in the first place. Cooler heads prevailed, I guess, if I could even say that. And so after the game ended, shortly thereafter, the W did announce that that tech had been taken back. And, again, the W has a problem right now, top down, to be very clear from a commissioner standpoint. But I will say credit to the league for doing that in a very timely and necessary manner. That did not need to linger and be a storyline anymore on Saturday afternoon, evening,
Good point.
or certainly Sunday. So good work by the league to sweep that under the rug. I would love to talk about like Liberty and Wings this week, James, and be like, wow, those are two huge games. Because they are.
They
two
are.
huge games.
Yeah.
Stars inside of your building, not named your own players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is huge. And it'd be great if we could actually have a week where that's the discourse around the Fever. But yeah, I wasn't born yesterday, so I'm not going to hold my breath for that.
I wouldn't either. You'd be, keeling over if you did that.
Is the kicker competition keeling over at this point?
Yes. So I have Blake, I think, 27 of 30
Yeah, Blake
in
Groupie.
practice.
Uh-huh.
Blake Groupie. And then I think Schrader is either 19 of 20 or, not 19 of 20, 19 of 30 or 20 of 30. I think it's 20 of 30 is what I have him as.
Yeah, 4 misses for Spencer Schrader yesterday, all north of 50, and the miss is left. He's got the quick hook. Mark, do you have a miss on the driving range?
Yeah. It always goes left.
You're a left miss?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I saw he had one yesterday where he had the quick miss, kind of the quick hook left. Sure enough, what's the next one do? Big old block right.
Mm.
The overcorrection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
I've been there.
Been there before.
Probably be
Yeah.
there this weekend too.
I know Brian Mason continues to try to make it, hey, we haven't decided yet, and the kickers are going to get graded in the games and all of that. But this thing, as my sister would say, OVA.
Yeah,
over.
He could do the Vince Carter gif.
Yes.
Blake Groupie
Yes.
could if he would like to right now. Yeah, Spencer Schrader might find it at some point. I mean, he's coming back from a horrific injury. And again, all of his misses tend to be longer distance. They seem to be a pattern to his misses as well. So you would hope and think, and he seems like a very nice individual, that he does find that. But yeah, you can't play around with that. You are a month away from the season starting, and Blake Groupie needs to be the kicker there. Is that bachelor party this weekend, Mark?
That it is. Saturday countdown.
Let's go.
Trying to look at the weather forecast though. I'm getting a little bit itchy and scratchy with that.
And remind me again, details.
Golf out in Illinois, so we're gonna do that. Hit up a course that I haven't been to in a few years, but it's a great little course. Tuck away, fabulous. So we're gonna go there. That's the plan at least, and then go out to dinner to a very nice steakhouse and everything like that, and then drinks and jubilations.
Bachelor party thread email asking if there's porta potties on the golf course. Mark Dyketon says, why? There's no need.
Look around. You see all the trees there? Do what you need to.
There's no need.
Pick a
1,
number.
2.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be a little bit more of a penalty if you do something like that at a golf course versus at the old house.
I don't care what you're counting for.
Your number can go as high as you want.
That is the voice of Mark Dyketon. I am Kevin Bowen, James Boyd alongside. He's got a flight to catch. You aren't leaving the show early. You're gonna play it out?
Yeah, I think I'll play it out. Just got to be in the car by 9:55. I mean,
You're not driving O'Hare. Like, you're
yeah,
fine.
exactly. And like I said, the Indianapolis airport, you get through pretty quick. It's like a 20-minute drive from here?
I'm not worried about the airport. I'm worried about a little orange cone that pops up out of nowhere for you.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. But, we live our life on the edge.
Joel A. Erickson at 8. We've got a lot to go over from a couple of Colts practices over the weekend. And then what do the Patriots look like? It is a joint session with them. Is that tomorrow morning, James, for the joint practice?
So that practice, I believe, is at 10 a.m. So I'll probably be hopping on Jake or John's show to kind of recap it, and I'd be happy to join you on Wednesday morning if you want.
And then, so Doug Kyde, he's going to join us again, Boston Herald for him. Where are the Patriots' strengths, weaknesses, injury-wise? How do things look for Drake May and company here as the Colts will have their first joint session of 2026? Good Monday morning to you. I swear I've heard some rain out my window a little bit right before the alarm went off. It is a bit of an overcast start. I think some rain chances all week long. So we'll give a weather update for you on that. But thank you for starting your week off with us. This is the Fan Morning Show here, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Checkdown. Brought to you by Bet365 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, always a busy morning check down on a Monday. We got a lot to recap from the weekend. Practices 8 and 9 complete up there at the Droplight Grand Park campus. We will continue to provide some takeaways off of that. James, let's go over a couple injury updates. I would say right now on the optimistic side, it sounds like Josh Downs could be back as early as tomorrow with a groin injury. He's missed a couple of practices. Shane Steichen said afterwards could be good to go for that joint session with New England tomorrow. And Justin Wally, he was observing yesterday. Sounds like a minor hamstring thing, but again, hamstrings, you never quite know. But we continue to not see Alec Pierce, and now CJ Allen, James, is approaching several missed practices as well.
Yeah, I would say on top of that, you have Hunter Wohler, who's been out with a hamstring injury. Laquan Treadwell has been out with a hamstring. And DJ Giddens, the running back, has been out with a hamstring. So you can kind of sense the theme here that hamstrings have been an issue for the Colts. So I'm curious to see, Kevin, if we see a couple of those guys come back, whether that be in the joint practice tomorrow or later on this week when they get back from their game on Thursday. I believe they had practice after this week, Saturday and Sunday going into next week. So we'll see how things shake out.
Yeah, just 4 practices left at Grand Park. As James said, it'll be Saturday and Sunday coming up this weekend. I think there's a 4 o'clock start times for those. And then after that, it's a week from Wednesday and a week from Thursday, Colts-Falcons joint practices. So 4 left, 2 Colts versus Colts, 2 Colts versus Falcons. And that will conclude things in Westfield. Speaking of Colts from this weekend, I very much enjoyed the Adam Vinatieri Hall of Fame speech. I know Mark Dykton's got a rather humorous clip, right, Mark?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
From anybody you know?
Yeah.
In regard.
I was busy. Couldn't get there.
Thank you, Coach.
Jordan, how many Love Island marathons do we have to watch?
Wondered why you weren't in Canton. Thank you for clearing that up. I think Adam Vinatieri will have a few words on that front. Fever, over the weekend, they beat the Chicago Sky. They pretty much led throughout. I know it was one of those games where it looked like the lead was going to get away, but then a really strong finish. Caitlin Clark was excellent. We did see a change in the starting lineup. James, what did you make of KK Timpson in there for Mo Billings?
KK is not giving that spot back. I thought she looked pretty good. Even some of her playmaking, Kevin, early in that game, a couple of assists there early in the first quarter were pretty impressive. And then she just brings a certain level of athleticism and defense that they just haven't had. So I think that she's trending up and should remain in the starting lineup.
We talked a lot about the drama affiliated with this game, per usual with the Fever. But if you were saw the headline of Caitlin Clark getting technical, the league very, very quickly and very, very smartly rescinded said tech after the game on Saturday. So she is good to go. It's Liberty. It's an 8 o'clock tip. 8 o'clock tips for both these. 7:30 tips for both these. Our pregame coverage will begin at 7 with both of these coming up Tuesday and Friday. That's Liberty and Wings. Liberty they've split with, right, this year?
Yes, I believe so. And so, again, all these games are really starting to matter because you're talking about playoff seeding and things of that nature. So the Fever have quietly played good basketball. I know they had a couple of painful losses against the Aces and the Lynx, but they still have had, I think, a better surge at this point in the season than perhaps earlier.
So, again, 2 notable home games for the Fever coming up this week with the Liberty and the Wings.
By the way, quick shout out to Kelsey Mitchell, 16th straight game with 20-plus points. That is a single-season WNBA record.
Bucket getter, Kelsey
Yes.
Mitchell. Major League Baseball from over the weekend. Mark, you guys continue to win?
2 of 3 against Kansas City. Good to see. Cut the lead in the NL Central for the Brewers have down to 5.5. So we shall see. They got the Nationals this weekend. Brewers finally facing some tough competition, so maybe the Cubs can close the gap a little bit more.
Is it bad to me that I love the Dodgers are 1-6 since trading for Tarek Skubal?
I love it. I mean, that was poetry in motion right there. Oh, you got the highest payroll. You're just getting the best players available. How about a 1-for-6 start since the All-Star break?
Reds are horrific at baseball. Shout out to the Indianapolis Indians. 4 pitchers yesterday combined on a 1-hitter. 2-0 for the Indians, beating the Iowa Cubs in that one. Again, 4 different pitchers combining on a 1-hitter there. Death, Taxes, and Alexander Pillow. I don't even know if he wants to be called Alexander. Probably not. Alex Pillow into victory lane out there in Portland yesterday. You did have Andretti finishing 3rd, 5th, and 6th. That is certainly a nice weekend for that team. But Palou's dominance, we thought last year it was impressive. It's actually been better this year, which is outright amazing. Felix Rosenquist was the pole sitter. He was the runner-up there. Kyle Kirkwood finishing 3rd. Shout out to Rinus VeeKay. Continues to just kind of pop up there in the top 5, top 10. He was, I believe, 4th in this race. So busy August for IndyCar. They're off to Canada coming up this weekend. And a rest in peace to Basketball Hall of Famer Don Nelson. Passed away yesterday at the age of 86. A 5-time NBA champion as a player, 3-time Coach of the Year. Dirk Nowitzki had some extremely complimentary words yesterday. That was his first coach in the league for a handful of seasons there. So certainly one that I think falls kind of in the legendary category, James. Player, coach, resume, Don Nelson. Rest in peace at the age of 86.
Yes, and shout out to Coach Nelson, who coached the We Believe Golden State Warriors. This was pre Steph Curry, pre Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, and that whole regime. That was, I believe, the first 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed in a 7-game series in NBA history. I remember watching it as a kid and thinking, this team is so fun. They were getting up and down, played a lot of small ball. He really revolutionized NBA basketball and is viewed and widely considered to be a great person, let alone a great coach.
Yeah, that was that Baron Davis and company?
Yes, Baron Davis, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, former Pacer, was on that team. So
Pacers legend Monte Ellis making a lot of money for them, like he did with the Pacers.
You know what was crazy? The 1 year I covered the Pacers full time, I think was the last year that he got paid. Like, they finally got him off the books when I was on the beat. And, that was 2022, and he hasn't played in the NBA, and at least at that point, in a few years. So it was kind of like the Bobby Bonilla deal.
Gosh, yeah, which is saying something, to say the least. Was chatting with Greg Rakestraw practice yesterday. He had just gotten back from Chicago, where he called the Indy Thunder. This is beat ball. They won the World Series again, dramatic fashion, 11-9 victory for them. I believe it's their 7th title in 10 years. So shout out to the Indy Thunder and the beat ball. I'm sure the dulcet tones of Greg Rakestraw on the call made that World Series win even sweeter. All right, coming up on the other side, much more what we witnessed Colts-wise yesterday and going back to Saturday. Those 2 practices will get you set for this week upcoming in New England, as James Boyd is off to that part of the country here coming up later today. They did sign a wide receiver with history with Shane Steichen, so we'll share that news as well. But Mark Dykton, let's go a little weather update.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
There's a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms today. One round this morning with another round developing tonight. It will be hot, humid, and breezy with a high at 91 degrees this afternoon. I am Fox 59 meteorologist Amber Hardwick for The Fan.
We grow hair in the gold standard for hair restoration, northwest side. That would be building number 2 there. That's the pyramids. Darren Andrews and his staff, they're ready to answer questions you have today. They can do it via free evaluation, private evaluation, or virtual evaluation. All of that is available to you, again, at We Grow Hair Indy. One of the questions I had, hey, what would the recovery process be like? I was a little nervous about that. That was some hesitancy I had. Yes, I had to sleep upright for a few days. That was a tad awkward, but outside of that, not too much of an issue whatsoever. Had the procedure done on a Friday, back at work on a Monday. Actually took a buddy's trip via vacation that next weekend. So no problems there whatsoever. Again, this is We Grow Hair Indy. They are the gold standard for hair restoration. The best in the business up here on the Northwest side. They happen to call the 317 home. It's WeGrowHairIndy.com.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, thank you for starting your week off with us. This is the Fan Morning Show. James off to Boston coming up here after the show. Colts Patriots joint practice tomorrow. Looking forward to catching up, James, with Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald at 9:30. Just kind of get a state of where the Patriots are and to be abundantly clear where they are on the field. Because, on paper is obviously a very quality opponent to have a joint practice with. You've been to joint practices before in the past, and I find it very beneficial. And, when I look at position groups right now, okay, Sauce Gardner, Javarius Ward, Justin Wally, assuming he's healthy, boom, here's A.J. Brown, here's Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
You think about that Patriots defense last year was a huge, huge part of why they got to the Super Bowl. Obviously Drake May, to me, that's where these are so, so beneficial for you, even if it's just one day, but with the expectation your starters will not play, or at least a good chunk of them will not play on Thursday in the preseason opener. Curious kind of where New England is at health-wise and all of that when Doug joins us coming up at 9:30.
To me, this is the first opportunity for Daniel Jones to face another team since he went down in Jacksonville back in December. So, again, he's just over 8 months removed from having right Achilles surgery. We haven't seen any signs, Kevin, of him looking like he's lingering from that surgery or that injury. And quite frankly, if you hadn't known he ever got hurt, you wouldn't be able to tell now. But again, how does that look against another opponent that honestly is not as invested in your health as your own team? So, for example, I don't expect him to get hit, to be very clear. But those moments where he's scrambling and teams kind of just let him go because who's going to get close to Daniel Jones in a Colts practice, I think those scrambles and things like that will be telltale signs of, okay, how close do you actually push it when the other team isn't necessarily trying to protect you?
Yeah, I think you felt a little bit of the lack of wideout personnel, I guess, available to him over the weekend. Josh Downs has missed the last couple of practices with a groin injury. It does sound like he could participate as early as tomorrow. Alec Pierce continues to be out, and I don't think there's any expectation that his return is imminent by any means. So, Jones has had to work with, even if you want to throw Laquan Treadwell into that group, Jones has had to work with really 3 of his probably top 5 or 6 wide receivers not available to him. And again, I think you've seen that. You go back to Saturday's practice, the vast majority of completions, running backs and tight ends. You go to yesterday, I thought it was probably the worst day for the starting offense. Jones was picked twice. They were 2 catchable balls. The first one maybe slightly out of Nick Westbrook-Akine's catch radius, but still he got his hands on it. The other one was a flat-out drop by Jonathan Taylor right into the hands of Cam Bynum for that pick. And then to end practice, they went situational. They had one of these, 50 seconds on the clock, and, you're down 1. You got to get into a field goal. And they were like 2 of 5, I want to say, on that drive there. And the defense was very sticky with Sauce Gardner and Cam Taylor-Britt each recording a pass breakup. So, to me, when I've seen this wide receiver personnel, sometimes, James, we throw these black and white, he's 8 for 12 on the day, or he's 5 for 9. It's like, okay, what's the context around that? Well, I think when I've watched Saturday and Sunday, it's just been less productive, less moving the football. Last Thursday night practice, they moved it great. And then you didn't have down Saturday, you didn't have down Sunday. Obviously, Pierce is still watching, and it just seems like it's shown up a little bit here. So, again, facing a new team coming up tomorrow, I'm anxious to see what that looks like.
I did get a kick out of Reggie Wayne saying that Alec has been getting on his nerves on the sideline, asking him questions and kind of going over the offense and things like that. So hopefully we see him out here sooner rather than later. But there's been no real update on Alec Pierce. Like, the answer Shane gave about Josh was way more information and more promising than anything that's been said about Alec Pierce. It just seems like this ankle is taking its time to get right. And to be fair to him, he did say it could be a 4 to 6 month recovery when he initially explained it back in the spring. And now we're getting into that 5-month territory for him.
I'm very skeptical he practices at Grand Park.
Yeah, I would agree there.
The under's already hit, correct?
Say that again, Mark?
The under is already hit. We said 5.5.
Oh, yeah.
That's
4 practices left. Saturday, Sunday would be 10 and 11. Next Wednesday, next Thursday would be the final 2 days. So August 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
Is that now the Colts did sign a wide receiver with familiarity with Shane Steichen. That was news yesterday.
Yes. And to be clear, that wide receiver is not Keenan Allen, who I was asked a lot about over the weekend, but it was DJ Montgomery, who is, I believe, a former undrafted wide receiver. He's been with the Colts the last few years, spent last year on IR due to injury. He's a familiar face, like you said. He did catch a touchdown pass, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago, but he's a very deep practice squad kind of player. Might get called up a few times on game day, but not the needle mover that would make us think, okay, they've really addressed the wide receiver room.
Yeah, they've made 2 wide receiver moves here in camp. Montgomery replaces the guy that they originally signed, Liam Clifford, an undrafted free agent out of Penn State. Montgomery has 6 catches in his career. He's 29 years old. So, that lends you to where he will show up on the depth chart. But, yeah, this past weekend was kind of another reassurance to me of, like, they've had moments where, okay, Daniel Jones is having a nice day with Ashton Doolin, or, Nick Westbrook-Akine a little bit here. But this weekend was kind of another reminder, especially when you get into like the red zone parts of the field. When you start to kind of shrink the field a little bit, that can kind of just be like, do you have dudes or do you not have dudes? Like, we've seen Tyler Warren just make a few plays where it's like, James, you said it the other day, like, my man's better than your man.
Yeah.
Like, again, when it condenses, talent, I think, shows up more than a little bit of scheme.
Yeah.
And that, to me, has been exposed there with that aspect to it.
When you look at the offensive line, Kevin, I will say I'm a little encouraged by what I've seen, just continuity-wise. I thought Jalen Travis, actually, he probably needs these reps as well going into this joint practice, because I thought that Latu got the best of him, but he's somebody I'm looking at, too, going into tomorrow's training camp, just to kind of see how he holds up, because I don't want to dismiss the fact that, yes, you have this continuity up front. I do feel very good about that unit. I would argue that the offensive line may be the best overall unit on the team, but at the same time, Braden Smith was a very big pillar of that right side of the offensive line at right tackle for so long, and Jalen Travis is stepping into some big shoes there.
You guys find it convenient that Colts Patriots is on the preseason schedule, and the Patriots are non-compliant with their Gillette Stadium turf? There's always some controversy with Colts and Patriots. Did you see this?
No, I did not. Fill me in on this.
The Patriots are scrambling to remove a non-compliant turf field installed after the World Cup and replace it with a new one before Thursday's preseason opener with the Colts. And then a Patriots reporter, Carlos Lopez, says they're installing new artificial turf this week after the surface installed following the World Cup was deemed non-compliant by the NFL. Patriots COO Jim Nolan says the replacement will be the latest version of the turf used last season and should be ready to go for Thursday's game and feel incredibly consistent for players.
It's always something.
There's always something.
Well, there goes any chance the Colts had of playing starters on Thursday, right?
I know, right?
James, are you, where is the practice? Is there a practice facility right next to the stadium?
Yeah, you've been there before, right, Kevin?
Yes, been to Gillette, yeah.
Yeah, so they have like that whole kind of campus thing. I think it's over in that area.
Woods.
Yeah, so, we'll see where they end up officially practicing. Sometimes it's like right next door. It might be 20 minutes away or something like that from where they play. I know when I went to Baltimore last year, theirs was kind of like in a nearby suburb, similar to how the Colts do theirs, although it's not as fan-friendly. So either way, they'll get it done when it comes to the joint practice. But, yeah, I didn't really know too much about this turf issue, which it seems like it's been a while since the World Cup has happened. So why are we trying to rush to get it done this week?
They saw the Colts on the schedule. Like, we need some controversy. Forget the air and the balls. We need to take the field out now.
They weren't happy that Adam Vinatieri went with the Ursays to present him into the Hall of Fame. Speaking of that, Mark, do you have this clip? Adam Vinatieri went first off, I thought his speech was excellent on Saturday going into the Hall of Fame. He was super, sentimental, emotional, frankly, talking about so many important people in his life. But then, boy, he also made sure the comedic side of him came out. I believe at one point he referenced Peyton Manning's forehead as, thank you, Peyton, for providing the teleprompter for me for today. That was a hearty chuckle. I think, speaking of the Patriots, I thought I heard a ball boy shout out there with Tom Brady and maybe the PSI in said balls, if I could follow that joke there. This one about one Bill Belichick. Is that right, Mark?
Unfortunately, Bill couldn't make it here today. There's a lot going on at UNC right now. He may be on a recruiting trip right now looking for the next Lawrence Taylor. I thought it was because training camp had already started, But in truth, it's because he's judging his girlfriend's cheerleading competition.
Very well done, I thought, by Adam Vinatieri.
He needs to be on the next Netflix roast and everything. He had some jokes.
Yeah, I mean, what can you tell him now? I'm the greatest kicker ever. I'm in the Hall of Fame. You're not my coach anymore, so I can finally maybe air a few grievances.
Andrew Luck, Matt Hasselbeck, Zaire Franklin, Kenny Moore II, among the many others.
Bill should have
Pagano,
been
I
there.
saw.
Say it again.
Pagano was there.
Chuck Pagano, yeah.
Bill
Belichick should have been there.
He should have been there. I mean, I don't want to hear it.
I think there's a little iciness.
It
with
seems to be
some
a
of the
theme
Patriots
there
contingent.
with Bill and iciness and people he worked with previously.
Was Robert Kraft there?
I'm not sure, actually.
I didn't see him, but he very well could have been.
So shout out to Adam Vinatieri again. As you mentioned in the opening segment, kicker separation continues for the Colts. Spencer Schrader had a poor day yesterday, 4 of 8 on his day of kicking, missed 4 field goals, all north of 50, but that miss is going left a lot. And so he's now 20 of 30 in the kicks we've seen here at training camp and team settings. Blake Grupe is 27 of 30. Do you believe Brian Mason's words that, like, it's not as drastic as the numbers indicate, or do you think he's just trying to back a man coming off a serious injury?
I think it's the latter. And like any coach would, you don't want to publicly kind of go through your leaderboard of who's leading each and every day. But the beauty of training camp, as you always point out, Kevin, is that we see all of the practices. So there is no pulling the wool over our eyes or telling us, well, you guys weren't here this day and this is how it kind of went down. We see it all. And so the kicking part of it is very easy to spot because we're watching them go through all of it. We don't miss anything when it comes to the kicks. You might miss a rep for a defensive back, or every now and then I might lean over Kevin and say, okay, who caught that touchdown pass, or things like that. But not when it comes to kicker. Easy to tell the two who are kicking, and very easy to tell based off the numbers who is in the lead. And if you're kicking 66%, that's just way too low for an NFL kicker given that amount of volume. So, yeah, I'll be shocked if Blake Grupe is not the starting kicker for week 1.
Shout out to listener Cody. He came down to the edge of the fence yesterday, James, and was, hey, big fan of the morning show. I met his significant other, Emily, so shout out to her as well. And then as he's walking away, he's like, I'm off to Costco. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm thinking, okay, is he going to give me his Costco order here? I'm like, what? Costco, you get some free samples there, and you don't need lunch for the day. He goes, yeah, I got to get Mark some toilet paper.
We'll take some. I actually need to go get some anyway, so if he's going to drop some off, it'll save me a trip.
Cody could have been the opener for Adam Vinatieri.
That's right.
Yeah, I did have a fan of the show lean over the railing and just yell, hey, tell Mark to use the bathroom next time. So,
I did.
You're a popular guy
what
over
are you talking
at
about?
training camp.
To use indoor plumbing.
Oh.
Yeah.
That needs to be specified.
This is the year of 2026
You got
here.
Nick Rodecap in there just like, this is what I came to learn from.
He got up early to hear that.
I'd be going with those gloves, like the start of COVID.
I was
when
going
it's
to
like,
say,
hey,
Nick,
should
you
we be wearing gloves
sanitize
right now?
everything in that room, brother. Okay, you don't just stand there and if you are, keep the hands in the pockets.
One NFL note from the weekend, we mentioned this time last week when the Bijan Robinson contract extension occurred. My thought was, okay, that's the running back domino. Now Jonathan Taylor will slot in. I think this happened right after we signed off on Friday, but Titans guard Peter Skoronski signed, I want to say it was $4 for $100 million on his extension. And again, like Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, former high first-round pick, still on the rookie contract.
Yeah.
He gets that extension. I believe he's now the highest paid guard in the NFL. So now my question becomes, is Quentin Nelson next? Is this kind of similar? We don't talk about guards in that limelight, but I did see that news on Friday, and I'm curious if Nelson will kind of slot in next here from a contractual extension standpoint.
So I'm looking at it right now. Quentin Nelson is tied for the 6th highest annual salary for guards in the NFL, $20 million a year. This is the last year of his contract. I would assume that if he re-ups with the Colts, which I know we've debated, should they do it? Is it a position you want to continue to put a lot of money into? I think they should. I think he jumps to number one. He's been that good and that great. Quentin Nelson is right now, today, in my opinion, a Hall of Famer. Like if he were to never play a snap again, I think he would be a Hall of Famer. That's how great he's been. I think he's got 6 first and second team All-Pros combined, 8 Pro Bowls through his first 8 seasons, which he's one of only a handful of players to do that. The only other offensive lineman to do that in NFL history is Joe Thomas, the longtime Cleveland Browns legend who's in the Hall of Fame. So all that said, he's still only, 29? Got some good years ahead of him. I think that he would be deserving of being the highest paid guard in the league.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. We did hear from Anthony Richardson after practice yesterday. For what it's worth, Richardson and Leonard have had, Riley Leonard that is, it's been rough. It's been rough for them. It's been rough for their units. I'd argue it's been rougher for Richardson than Leonard. I thought both of them had a nice moment yesterday. Riley Leonard had a strong period where, shout out to Pendleton's Eli Pankel. He found the Pendleton wideout a couple times for
former
a touchdown.
Duke teammates.
Yeah, former Duke teammates. A touchdown pass to him. And then Leonard got his chance to lead the second unit in a situational period to end practice. Probably the best throw and catch he's had, and I would argue the catcher has had as well, Deion Burks, there on the final drive. Both those players, I would argue, needed that
You're saying
play.
Richardson or Leonard for that last drive?
Richardson
Okay.
to Burks. Sorry if I said Leonard. Yeah, Anthony Richardson to Deion Burks there on the final drive. Pass interference penalty on the next play, and then Seth McGowan ripped off a big run, so they scored a touchdown on their drive. But did you make anything off of Richardson's comments? First time we've heard from him in training camp. Typical Anthony Richardson. I'd argue he's rather candid than most when it comes to really everything. I guess maybe the trade request was the only thing he wasn't super forthcoming about. But anything Anthony said that stood out to you?
Well, I think when he says, I don't always throw the best ball, but I think I'm making some good decisions, that to me sort of sums up the AR experience throughout training camp. I wouldn't say overall because I don't even know if the decision-making was really where it needed to be earlier in his career. But, yeah, the way he throws it, the timing, the anticipation, you're just not seeing enough of that. And he also said, Kevin, it's not my best camp, but it's not my worst camp, which, I mean, I don't know if I really want to hear that from a player, but like you said, he's pretty candid.
Yeah, I am, Mark, you asked us last week, I think on the I Gotta Know segment, right? Could Anthony Richardson get cut? Or maybe
Yes.
you were relaying a listener question?
No, I was asking because it seemed it was
Okay.
very possible at this point.
And Nick, our digital guy, he clipped out that video and sent it out on social after the show. I had a couple people ask me specifically about that segment. And I paused because, I really try not to say things that I don't truly mean. I don't want to be maybe a Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless when it comes to on-air entertainment. I try to have some actual substance behind what I'm trying to say. But I think I've come to the conclusion with Richardson a little bit of I'm starting to think he might just get the scissors on August 30th. Is he
Okay.
going to be part of the 30 names that are cut when the team goes from 90 to 53? To me, that thought is now much more in my head than it was previously. I just always assumed he'll be one of the 3 quarterbacks.
So what made it change for you, and did it change after he spoke?
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily his words. I just think he's been pretty bad in camp. And I guess he thinks he has the snap issue corrected. He said it was more of a hand placement thing, not a vision thing.
That was kind of weird.
We'll see. I mean, he hasn't dropped a snap, I guess, in the last day or two, which honestly is notable.
Yeah.
As sad as that sounds, based off how the first 7 or 8 days of camp went. But I don't know if I'm there, but I'm just a little bit more of man, could this just be hey, the Colts have released 30 players to get down to 53, and one of those happens to be Anthony Richardson, and it's just kind of an afterthought.
Yeah. He had a couple of different things that he said. We can get into it on the other side about where he is with the trade requests, remaining with the Colts, the snap issues. It was all, I think, a little interesting because he's still competing for that backup role, but I don't know if I'm there yet as far as them cutting him because I think that he still has one believer, and that is Chris Ballard. And I just don't know if they would go forward with cutting him.
Yeah, and again, I'm probably a little bit in the side of like I'm looking forward to seeing him Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing him in these preseason games.
Oh, he needs it. He's got to play much better than what we've seen in camp.
Right. I mean, he needs this badly. And for those that missed it yesterday, Shane Steichen pretty much said it's going to be a heavy, heavy dose of Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard coming up Thursday in New England. And
So do you think like Shane would like barricade the locker room to keep Daniel Jones in it if he tried to come out and play?
Well, if Mark's right about this turf, I just might keep Daniel Jones at the hotel.
Fair enough. Fair
Let him
enough.
get all the free coffee and donuts he wants over there.
I mean, don't typically in these preseason games, your starters get a pretty healthy workout in before the game.
Yeah.
They kind of treat that as like their practice. So, yeah, I guess I'm half joking, half serious on that. Joint practice out in New England. James Boyd will be there. We'll talk much more about it coming up. Joel A. Erickson going to join us on the other side. Thanks for starting your week off with us. Fan Morning Show here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
8 o'clock here on this Monday morning. It's a travel Monday for James Boyd. It's a travel Monday for our next guest. Joint practice number 1 of 3. Colts and Patriots coming up tomorrow. Out there in the Northeast, Colts and Falcons in Westfield coming up a week from Wednesday, a week from Thursday. Those will be the 3 joint practices for Shane Sykin's team here in 2026. Let's chat on the hotline. Joel A. Erickson from the Stars with us here. Joel, what do we got on the docket tonight? Red Sox out of town. You and James Boyd get into some Monday debauchery.
Maybe not Monday debauchery. I have a tendency to fly late, so I'm getting in and going to the hotel. But I told James to be ready for some restaurant work on Wednesday.
Oh,
I'm ready.
Got that?
Yes, I am ready.
Now, Boston, I remember when we stayed in Providence, they had a nice little Italian action there. We'll have to vet Louis Anarumo's thoughts on this. But do you already have some based off past trips up there, James or Joel? Because Foxborough's back in the woods. I'm always scared to drive back there.
Yeah, I'm staying in Providence, but there is a place that does Puerto Rican food in Boston that is fantastic. We saw it on one of those like chef shows with my wife, and she was like, "Well, when are you going to get to go there and eat that?" And I was like, "Actually, I go to Boston in like 4 weeks." And that was in like 2022, and it was delicious. So that's my spot there.
Joel A. Erickson not messing around when it comes to the first travel here of 2026. I did want to get to one of your observations from yesterday, Joel, because my one-on-one focus was more on the passing game. I probably should have kept an eye on the O-line and the D-line getting after it in some one-on-ones and full padded sessions, because you were pretty impressed by what DeForest Buckner showed.
He looked like Buck, and that's the biggest thing is I don't know if we really had a chance to see that from him because he's been in and out of the lineup. They've kind of kept his reps pretty low. There's been a lot of 11 on 11s where he just hasn't he hasn't been a part of it, that kind of thing. But and I think the first time that they did one-on-one defensive line versus offensive line, I think he only got one pass rush rep, and it was like kind of an afterthought at the end. This time, the swim move looked good, the movement looked good. We got back into 11s later, and they put him at defensive end, and he looked quick, and like he just looked like Buckner. And I think that's a pretty big development for this defense if you can get him at something much closer to full strength than what we saw from him when he came back for one game last year.
Again, that is the voice of Joel A. Erickson. Don't forget the A. He is the Colts reporter for Indy Star. Joel, sticking with the defensive line, I did think that Latu was pretty active over the weekend in these practices and really flashed a lot. What kind of progress have you seen from him? Of course, we'll have to see a little bit more, perhaps in this joint practice with the Patriots, but I do think he's trending up.
I think that what I've seen from him is just a little bit more decisiveness with his rushes. You think about throwing moves and stuff in pass rushes, but the thing is you can't throw too many or you've bogged yourself down, and you're like, it needs to be quick and fluid. And I think that's what I've seen from him when he's had his best rushes so far is that it's coming off, it's knowing what he wants to do, getting to it, and then winning. And I think that's a big deal, really, for any pass rusher. Kwity Paye, who's now in Las Vegas, that was one of his issues, was that he kind of had too many things going on, and or he was trying to do too many things, and it kind of always ended up in like a bull rush.
Joel, where are you at over the weekend for me with Josh Downs out of the lineup? I thought you noticed a little bit more of just what you're lacking at wide receiver. You go back to Saturday, it was a heavy running back tight end day. You go to yesterday, I thought it was probably the hardest for the starting offense to move it, maybe all of camp, certainly in quite some time. So to me, it was kind of maybe the most we've noticed the lack of personnel. And again, it doesn't sound like Josh Downs' absence with the groin injury is going to be too long. But, what did you or have you observed wide receiver-wise in impacting the starting offense at all?
Yeah, I think you put it pretty well there. When with both of those guys out, you really see. So like the slot receiver with Downs out, Anthony Gold hasn't really taken that step as a receiver. I kind of think Coleman Owen has been maybe the better player in terms of just getting open and getting catches in this camp. He hasn't really gotten time with the first team, so he hasn't had to go against like Justin Wally or Cam Taylor Britt as much. But it just feels like there's a significant drop off there, and I agree with you. You get these tight end running back heavy days sometimes right now with Pierce out, and then you take Downs out of the lineup, and it was difficult for them to move, and I think it was difficult for Daniel Jones to trust maybe his pre-snap read because he just wasn't sure that guys were going to be able to execute and get open to where they were. Right now, it's always hard to tell in camp. Maybe it was more of a Jones thing than anything else, but I think you just kind of look at it and you go, I'm just nervous about the way this receiver room looks. I'm really interested to see how they look in New England if Downs can't go. Shane Steichen kind of hinted he might be back, but if Downs can't go, I think you're going to get a pretty stark dose of what it would look like this week when they go up against a different team.
That is Joel A. Erickson, part of the great Colts staff, or Colts coverage staff, I should say, at Indy Star. Joel, what are you looking for or from when it comes to the quarterbacks on Thursday? Daniel Jones most likely will not play, so Anthony Richardson and Wright Leonard should get a good bit of run.
Yeah, it's separate things for both of those quarterbacks. I think with Leonard, I really think it's really one issue that most of the time crops up with him. There's a little bit of there's some inaccuracy, but I think that the biggest issue with him is that sometimes he holds the ball in the pocket a little bit too long, and that leads to broken plays or messed up plays. So I think that's the biggest thing for him, because when Leonard gets in like a game move the ball situation, I think that's often when he's at his best. And so just how quickly is he getting the ball out of his hands? Does he feel like he can trust his pre-snap read? We talked to him yesterday, and he said he spent a lot of time this offseason trying to make sure that he knew defenses well enough that he had that picture before he takes the snap. I think after he takes the snap, and he kind of said this himself, there's been a little bit of hesitation sometimes leading to holding the ball in the pocket. With Richardson, I think it's a bigger range of things to watch for. I just, in camp, he's had issues with the snap. He's had issues with not getting his feet set to throw. We haven't seen it's hard when you're on field level, I think, to see some of the stuff with, is he making the right read, diagnosis, that kind of thing. And is he avoiding a play like the one they had in the preseason last year where he got hurt and when he missed the blitzer off the edge? I think all of that, does he do that? Does he rise to the occasion is part of what's going to happen with what I'm going to be watching for with Richardson on Thursday.
Joel, Joel A. Erickson from the Indianapolis Star covers the Colts on an outstanding level. He's with us here on the hotline. Joel, your Brewers are currently 5.5 games up on Mark's Cubs in the NL Central. I believe there's 7 games between those two opponents the rest of the way. Percentage chance the Cubs win the NL Central?
They've got a chance to make up. Mark's Cubs have a chance to make up some ground this next 2 weeks. I think Brewers go at San Diego, at Dodgers, and then they get Seattle and the Braves. And I don't know for sure on the Cubs side, but I can't imagine it's the same type of 2 week thing. So I think at the end of that 2 weeks, you get a real idea for whether or not the math matches up for them to make a run. Mark's Cubs have been playing really well. They've been playing really, really well. They just can't make up. They haven't been able to make up any ground because the Brewers keep winning too.
Mark, 20% chance you guys win the division? 30%?
Sure. Yeah, I would put it there. The Cubs have the Nationals, Cardinals, White Sox, and Mariners in their next 4 series.
Okay, so let's just split that 20 and 30. Let's call it 25% chance the Cubs win the NL Central. Joel, 25% chance over under Anthony Richardson is here on September 13th. And by here, I mean on the Colts roster.
I think I'm going to take the over that he's here on the roster. I just
sounded like you were thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I don't think I think he wants another opportunity. He kind of danced around that a little bit in his meeting with us yesterday. But I do think he wants another opportunity. I just wonder if, they tried to trade him in the spring, and I have been previously I have been on the train that eventually they're going to find someone for him. Teddy Bridgewater's not there with the Lions. Maybe that opens a spot. More stuff like that happens as we go through training camp. Maybe it opens some spots. But I just wonder if as we get further into this camp, if other teams, their opinions of where Richardson is as a quarterback will change enough to make the deal that the Colts want.
He is the wingman to James Boyd coming up in their trip to New England. He is Joel A. Erickson from the Star. Just you two and some TV people, is that right?
I believe so, but like I said, I will follow Joel when it comes to the food.
There's
purposes.
worse people to follow than Joel A. Erickson.
Yeah, I mean, one of them might be in the studio for this show. So,
Are you looking at me or are you looking behind the glass?
I was looking at you, but I was thinking more behind the glass.
Okay, I was
I'm in a separate room, bud. I can make it. I can come in there though if you'd like.
Certainly
me to.
don't want to follow
Hey,
him.
barricade that door.
Where he's going to dispose of any dinner droppings, to say the least. Joel, I know it's a busy day. Safe travels out there, and I will see you coming up Saturday back in Westfield.
Yep, sounds good. We'll see you guys.
Joel A. Erickson right there. That Buckner. I didn't watch a lot of the one-on-ones yesterday, O-line, D-line. I was focused a little bit more still in the passing game, which was probably stupid of me, but they've really eased him along slowly.
Yeah.
Really eased him along slowly. So the fact that he's, again, out there, I think is positive, but the fact that he's disrupting some things and beating some of your starting offensive guards, i.e. Quentin Nelson, that's one of those difference maker things for this season.
Absolutely.
If Buckner is Buckner, that all of a sudden can change the trajectory of this season being purgatory Colts or being January legit football Colts.
Yeah. You can't say enough what he's meant to this team, what he means to this defense. And as I like to call him, God's favorite, maybe God's favorite is bouncing back. I will add, I think that Colby Wooden quietly has had a good camp. He was the guy who was traded for Zaire Franklin from Green Bay. I like what I've seen from him too, Kevin, in adding some of that depth there on the interior defensive line.
Yeah, to get to know your defensive linemen, I would say Colby Wooden and Arden Key. That's 96 for Wooden, 98 for Key. Those are a couple jersey numbers to keep an eye on. And I would also throw in Jerry Tillery, 94, the old Tyquan Lewis number. Former first-round pick out of Notre Dame. He's rotated in a good amount here. So those are some of the new faces along the defensive line. This from Ryan. If the Colts were in on Debo, they clearly see the need to get wide receiver help. Do you guys think the Keenan Allen thing is just him weighing his options? I would also add, James, we have seen them make 2 wide receiver roster moves in camp as well. So, clearly they have done a couple things at that position. So, yeah, I am. Keenan Allen seems to be the guy that gets brought up endlessly. And part of it, I think, is the Shane Steichen connection. Maybe that's a big, big part of it. But, veterans are weird at this time. I mean, Kenny Moore's still a free agent, right?
Yeah.
So how do these vets look at it? Do they say, hey, I'm waiting for the injury? Team to get desperate? Team to tack on another $1 million or $2 million? Do some of these veterans say, hey, I only got so much left in the tank. I'm not showing up to day 9 at Grand Park. That sounds awful to me. I'll show up when the team gets back to the facility.
Yeah.
I know you laugh, but
no, that's a
I
real
think that's
thing.
part
I'm
of it,
laughing because I think that's a real thing. You just kind of broke the fourth wall there, so to speak, where maybe we're not supposed to say it out loud, but it is definitely the truth. This here, I don't know if you caught this in Albert Breer's update from attending Colts camp. He was there over the weekend. He has it here in one of his notes. that Alec Pierce will be shelved for another week and a half or 2 weeks. So that's an
Albert
interesting
Breer was at
tidbit.
Colts camp over the weekend, right?
Yes, he was there Saturday. And he has here, the big question at the skill positions is where the Colts are going to find a third receiver. With Alec Pierce shelved for another week and a half or 2 weeks, and Josh Downs out for a bit with the groin tweak, the coaches are getting a long look at Ashton Dulin, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Laquan Treadwell as candidates.
So again, to now map that out the rest of August, if you want to believe that timeline, which is a different timeline than obviously Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard originally said a week to 2. Tomorrow is 2.
Yeah.
So now, if this is updated, and I assume Albert Breer chatted with important members of the Colts organization, a week and a half would stretch through the joint practices.
Yeah.
And the close of camp. So that would mean 0 practices of training camp. If you want to go 2 weeks, now you're looking at 1, 2, 3. You'd have 3 full weeks until the start of the season.
I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet, but we're getting to that point where you have to start wondering, okay, even if he's cleared, how fully equipped is he to be himself, to be Alec Pierce, the NFL's best deep threat, and now the number 1 receiver for your team.
And one thing to note, too, James, we've never seen Pierce have ankle injury, go out and play whatever, 80%. Obviously, he's played through pain. You know, clearly, he's mentioned
Talked about that with the ankle.
Right. But all of his injuries, the reasons he's missed games in the NFL is all due to concussion.
Yeah.
And he hasn't missed many. He's only missed 3 or 4 in his NFL career. So, again, 3 full weeks to get ready for the season at a position that rotates a lot.
Yeah.
I would think he could still be ready for week 1. But the question becomes, is he not a home run hitter? Does Baltimore say, man, this guy's barely practiced since March?
Yeah.
Let's take our chances here, week 1. Let's not cheat that safety over the top here. Let's have Kyle Hamilton on the old bootleg sitting there for Tyler Warren. Has the bootleg play to Tyler Warren ever not worked? Daniel Jones on a bootleg and Tyler Warren
That does seem like money.
in the flat, 6
But
yards.
Jokes
move down the
aside,
field.
though, I think that's the movement that was lacking. And when I say movement, I mean literal, lateral movement along the offensive line, movement involving your 2 chess pieces with Daniel Jones and Tyler Warren that you didn't really have last year when A, Daniel got hurt initially, and then when he went down for the season. So I think that misdirection, the ability to kind of use Tyler Warren as that Swiss Army knife really helps this offense. And that's why, I'm not making some groundbreaking statement here, but you can make an argument that Tyler Warren, not Alec Pierce, will be the focal point of your passing offense. This right here from Madison on the text line. Are the wide receivers this year, quote, we like our guys, like the line Chris Ballard gives every single year? There's a position group that every person on the planet Earth says it's going to be a problem. We do nothing, and then around week 4 or 5, it gets exposed, and we all get to do a victory lap about how blatantly obvious that need was for everyone except Ballard.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth behind that statement from Madison. One thing that is interesting to me, James, is, I mentioned this kind of here and there, but when that statement has been made in years past, they've had kind of like an A.D. Mitchell in that room. Defensive end right now. You have a former second-round pick, Jalen Tuimoloau. It's like you have this draft pick, hey, at some point we got to kind of give him reps, and at some point we believe our development has been there, our scouting development. There's none of that at wideout.
Nah.
Again, when you look at 3, 4, 5, they all are older wideouts. Ashton Dulin, Laquan Treadwell, Nick Westbrook-Akine. So, there is that feel to it. But, again, to Madison's point, there's not the young second, third, fourth round pick that you've said to yourself, hey, they've been sitting here for 2 years. Time to give them the reps. That's not there. And again, to echo what I said to Joel, I've just noticed it over the weekend a little bit more. And again, Josh Downs was out, so that added to it. But I thought it was the least productive the starting offense has been down the field.
One last quick question before we hit this morning check down. Up late last night, watching, I think it was Warren Sharp, who we had on the show. He posted the A.D. Mitchell catch from the Rams game where he went down there and didn't clear the ball across the goal line. What an incredible catch, by the way, and spin. It was, oh my gosh. Everything was brilliant about that play except for the end. If he holds on to the ball and scores, regardless of the outcome of that game, is Sauce Gardner a Colt?
Oh man.
I thought about this last night, and I get it. I'm just pulling at heartstrings and perhaps anger, but
I don't know. Does Sauce Gardner come down to A.D. Mitchell?
the reason why I say that,
It's like the biggest compliment in A.D. Mitchell's NFL life.
I know, but I say that because, perhaps you win that game. Perhaps, you're maybe not.
Maybe A.D. Mitchell has more of a role moving
Yeah, that's what
forward.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, just, I don't know, but I think that's one of those, like, butterfly effect moments.
I'm still more of like, boy, talk about Sunday scaries. Yeah, there I am lying in bed at 10:30 at night watching A.D. Mitchell drop the ball short of the goal line. Let me just go take a fork to my eyeball here.
Yeah, that's where I was at last night. And, boy, I forgot how incredible the catch was, but
I don't know. Maybe there's somebody else on the roster that could have slid in for the player, to go around with those 2 first-round picks. But no, it's a fair point you bring up. Again, we'll get the Patriots side of things coming up 9:30. Joint practice tomorrow. Colts and Pats. Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald going to join us, talk about the state of where New England is at. Mark, let's go ahead and check it out.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by Suave Men Refreshing Face and Body Wash on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, so just to remind everybody, nothing in Westfield for the Colts all week long. It is a joint practice Tuesday. It's a preseason road game on Thursday against New England. Back Saturday and Sunday. Those are 4 o'clock start times for those 2 practices. And then the Atlanta Falcons into town Wednesday and Thursday. That is a week from Wednesday, a week from Thursday, the 19th and 20th. That will conclude things up there in Westfield. Over the weekend, the Indiana Fever, they actually played a basketball game, and they got a win. I know the storylines would lead you to believe that there was a lot else more important in the game, but they took care of business on the road against the Chicago Sky. Caitlin Clark was excellent, and we saw a change in the starting lineup, and James, you believe that is here to stay.
Yes, KK Timpson, a.k.a. Michaela Timpson, stepping in for Mo Billings in that starting role. And I think that KK just offers more versatility on the defensive end. She's just an absolutely incredible athlete. And she's a good decision maker, too. A lot of development I've seen in her game, from being just the kind of catch and putback player to now making a couple plays for others and being even a little distributor there on the interior. So I like the move. I think they should stick with it.
So, again, they've got the Liberty coming up on Tuesday and the Wings coming up on Friday. Those are 2 notable opponents. Certainly you have some star power on both of those teams. And if you look at the standings right now, very important games. A la Las Vegas last week for the Fever. Really important games when you start to look at the playoff standings, potentially getting home court here, at least for a round. Major League Baseball over the weekend. Shout out to the Indianapolis Indians. Let's go to AAA first. They had 4 pitchers combined on a 1-hitter yesterday. They win 2-0. They're at Nashville this week, and then home to Louisville and Columbus. Back-to-back home weekends for them to close out the month of August. The Reds are horrific. They stink. The Cubs win a series over the Royals, Cardinals over the Rockies, White Sox over the Guardians. And Mark, the Brewers do just keep winning. So you guys are winning, but the Brewers are winning a whole lot.
They do. Joel is correct. Like I said, these next 2 weeks should be critical for the NL Central race. If the Cubs can close the gap, they have a chance.
Is there an individual that dominates his or her sport more right now than Alex Below?
Probably not.
Like Scotty Scheffler in golf, that's kind of waned. It hasn't been like the true Scotty dominant year by any means. It seems like tennis doesn't have that either on men's or women's side. I know I'm kind of talking individual sport here, but Alex Below is dominant. He has a bigger, after winning yesterday in Portland, he has a bigger lead in the point standings this year than he did last year entering the final month. And last year we talked about it being such a foreign, unique, unbelievable in a series filled with parity. Alex Below is making everyone else look rather normal. So he wins in Portland. Felix Rosenquist from the poll finishes second. Third in that one was Kyle Kirkwood. Andretti did have 3 of the top 6, including Kirkwood there. Rinus VeeKay finishing fourth, so he continues to have a really nice year with Juncos. Hollinger Racing off to Canada coming up. Remember that DC race will be in 2 weeks. That is the 23rd, the Freedom 250 there. Going to be Sunday at 11:30. And rest in peace in the basketball world to one Don Nelson, legendary status as a coach and player. You combine those two resumes, quite impressive. 5-time NBA champion as a player, 3-time coach of the year. And James, I think a lot of people think of maybe Dallas, Don Nelson, with Dirk, but you referenced kind of the early age Warriors and what they did there in Oracle as the 8 seed the 1 year.
Yeah, the We Believe Warriors back in '07 when they upset the top-seeded Mavericks, who were led by MVP Dirk Nowitzki. So just a really fun time for me as a young basketball watcher. And as I've gotten older, I've appreciated how Don Nelson really revolutionized the game and went with small ball and playing with pace and things like that are kind of commonplace now in the NBA. So rest in peace to a legend who, by most accounts that I've seen, they also say he was a great human.
86 years old, Don Nelson. So, yes, rest in peace to him. All right, coming up on the other side, we've got GOATs of the weekend we got to get to. The Colts do have a player suspended for the season opener, if anybody missed that news item on Friday. And I would argue it's actually a Colt that would have played a decent role in that opener and might play a notable role here in 2026. We'll explain a lot more on that upcoming as well. Mark Dykton, overcast. Let's get a little weather update here on this Monday morning.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
There is a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms today, one round this morning with another round developing tonight. It will be hot, humid, and breezy with a high at 91 degrees this afternoon. I am Fox 59 meteorologist Amber Hardwick for The Fan.
The Andy Moore Group campus in Avon. 4 brands on one piece of land. That would be Toyota, Nissan, Kia, and Volkswagen. Shout out to GM Mike. He is out there. Make sure you tell him Kevin Bowen sent you. Mike was saying, hey, anybody comes in and says that, $500 off their purchase. 0% APR on Atlas and Tiguan, and any German make they're going to service right on site. So that's the Volkswagen brand out there off of Rockville Road. Not only do you have that brand, but you also have Kia, Toyota, and Nissan. 4 brands, 1 campus. Great to compare and contrast, and you can do that right off of Rockville Road. The Andy Moore Group campus in Avon. It is the place to be. Tell them Kevin Bowen sent you. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. That is indoor and outdoor concrete. We certainly spent a lot of time outside in the Bowen family this weekend enjoying what we have. Thank you to Galaxy Concrete Coatings for that. It was the Jupiter style is what we went with a couple summers ago. New sidewalk, new front porch. We love the results of it. Our home about 100 years old, so I was skeptical, to say the least, of exactly what they were going to offer from hey, does this make sense for our home? I mean, we're talking about 100 years old, but I should have been skeptical at all. Galaxy Concrete Coatings had exactly what we wanted, and we were thrilled with the efficiency of the process. 24 hours in and out. Tyler and Preston on site were excellent, and the fact that manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime. Again, it's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. It's indoor and outdoor concrete. Make sure you contact them today, galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
It is indeed the Fan Morning Show. Thank you to Mark Dykton on the ones and twos. Mark, you and me tomorrow.
Correct. So
James.
buckle up for safety.
James Boyd will be out in New England. That joint practice, James, is tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Colts and Patriots.
I believe it's from like 10 to 12.
So I have a feeling you might hop on, maybe with Jake. If not Jake, maybe John tomorrow afternoon to recap what you've seen, and then you'll be back with us, obviously, later in the week. Not staying for the preseason game, correct?
No, so I will be back Thursday morning, flying back Wednesday morning.
So Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard, sounds like it'll be a heavy dose of them. We'll play some Richardson audio here in a little bit when asked yesterday about his trade request, if he expects to still be on the team coming up here to start the season. You guys heard that re-entry right there. Did you catch the Purdue AD, Tommy McClellan, on with Jake on Friday?
I did catch a little of it. And how'd you feel about maybe his ability to try to correct some things?
Well, I know, Mark, you wanted the WWE double down on it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that as well. Stand your ground.
How great that'd be if he doubled down on
I
it.
had jokes I didn't say. Here they are right now.
Yeah, starts pulling out Adam Vinatieri
Kick
McAfee
rocks,
jokes from the Hall of Fame.
Rutgers.
He used the golf analogy. It's like teeing off in the first hole and you hit it in the water. Luckily, you got 17 holes left, right?
Yeah, but the problem is his start looked like my golf swing. So you just wonder, okay, can you ever get to hitting it into the water? You can't even hit it at all. That's the problem.
He said him and his son were actually at the national title game.
I wouldn't have revealed that.
So they watched Indiana hoist it
Is-
first
is-
stand there.
I'm going to say is, so you watched that happen and you still said that? Oh, my gosh.
Making the media rounds, I saw he was on with McAfee as well. So, hey, capitalize on your moment, right?
Yeah, something tells me I don't think he would have been joining the McAfee show
No.
if he didn't say that.
No, but he points out 600,000 living alums, incredible opportunity to tap into that. I would agree. I actually enjoy when he chats about kind of his vision, and I mean, again, he's adamant: revenue streams, NIL. I mean, he says the right things there. It was the old joke that didn't like. Let's just say the jokes that Adam Vinatieri wrote, or the people that wrote that for Adam Vinatieri, landed much, 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 much better than the jokes that Tommy
Yes.
McClellan tried to pull out.
So I have a question. Whenever I hear these universities say we have X amount of living alum, who determines that? Do you just send a letter in the mail and say, hey, are you dead? Check here if you're not. Like, I'm serious. How do they determine that?
You get a census update on, can you search obits that say Illinois University?
I get. I mean, I'm serious,
University
but
of
I'm like,
Illinois?
I'm always like, how do you know this? Who knows if I'm living?
Are you filling out the alumni survey every year to indicate that you're still above ground?
I did get a census thing the other day. I should probably fill that out.
Speaking of, I guess, living or maybe being ready for week one, we saw this announced on Friday, and I think it's important to just kind of update Colts fans a little bit on this. James, Cam Taylor-Britt, a free agent cornerback the team signed, will be suspended for the first game of the season, violating the league's personal conduct policy. Is that right?
Yes.
So this stems from a reckless driving, suspended license incident last year?
Yes. It was last year, I believe, but I think he got penalized for it, like legally, back in January. Ended up spending 5 days in jail. So, yes, he'll be out for one game. I had to actually reach out to the league to figure out when the suspension actually starts. So he is okay to participate in all preseason activities, but the suspension starts August 30th, the same day as cut down date for 53-man rosters in the summer. For those listening, NFL teams can have up to a 90-man roster. Got to get down to 53 for the regular season. And so the day that happens, he will have to be barred from all team activities and the team facilities until he's reinstated on September 14th, which is one day after the Colts season opener against the Ravens.
So, again, Cam Taylor-Britt, probably not a super household name to Colts fans, former high draft pick in Cincinnati of Lou
Second-round
Anarumo,
pick.
was a legit starter for them on some of their deep playoff run teams. And honestly, he's been one that I've noticed here in camp. Yesterday, he had a great pass breakup near interception on the final drive of the day. Almost got Daniel Jones for a pick on the far sideline. But I think he is like the first corner up. So we know Sauce Gardner and Javarius Ward, and then Justin Wally is going to be the new Kenny Moore in the slot there. I think Cam Taylor-Britt is that next guy, no matter who gets hurt. I think he's the next one to go in the game. For example, yesterday, Wally, a little bit of a hamstring issue is how Shane Steichen labeled it. He was not practicing, and it was Taylor-Britt that got to be playing. So, it's Friday. The news cycle typically doesn't get a ton of attention on that day. So I just wanted to point that out of, he is a player that I think would be viewed as kind of the first corner up. And James, we know full well this team has had to rely on cornerback depth majorly in recent years. So he's an important name. I mean, it's one game. Baltimore's not the most pass-happy team in the world, so I don't want to make too much out of it, but he will play, in my opinion, a very important role at some point here in 2026.
Absolutely. And I would argue, Kevin, that cornerbacks are one of the more volatile, I'm sorry to pronounce it the correct way, positions in all the NFL, just because of the injuries and, one play can change things and things like that for that group. So, yeah, not ideal, but I know there were a lot of people who were kind of surprised by the suspension. It did kind of throw me off guard because I had to go back and just see what did he actually do, and it turns out it wasn't necessarily anything that was done while he was in a Colts uniform. I'm assuming the Colts are probably aware that this was a possibility, so he gets the one game. He's probably relieved it isn't longer, and got to see if he can bounce back just from a football standpoint too, because I know last year he had a Liz Frank injury on top of being demoted, so he is fully healthy now, but what does it look like when you get back out there on the field and you're tasked with holding up your end of the bargain?
It's kind of wild. We got SportsCenter on in studio, and they just flashed up right before we started chatting about that. Will they repeat again? And it's an image of Kurt Cignetti walking off the field in Miami. I guess he did like a one-on-one film breakdown. It looks like with Reese Davis. There's these little moments. I don't know if you feel this way, where like I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, that did really happen.
Yeah,
and now I feel like I'm Tommy McClellan, the Purdue AD.
What's been crazy for me, Kevin, is that I'm kind of waiting, and this is not me being a hater whatsoever. I had to eat my crow. I have given IU their flowers. I was looking at my candy stripes this morning and thinking I probably shouldn't wear these to the airport because I don't want to be identified as the guy from Indiana when I get over to New England. But that first loss, if it does happen this year for IU, do you know how many fan bases who otherwise thought they were irrelevant for so long will be happy by that? Like, that's where we're at now. Like, you're the big bad bully to the rest of the teams in the country.
Yeah, John keeps on calling them the most hated team in college football.
They probably are, at least in the southern part of this country. But I love that because
I think it's rooted in jealousy.
Exactly. And I mean, isn't all sports hate rooted in some amount of jealousy? Like, growing up, I hated watching the Miami Heat and LeBron James because they won championships and the Bulls didn't. Like, same thing before Peyton Manning go over the hump. You hated Tom Brady and probably still do because it's like this guy can just never lose, it seems like, or he always gets the best of us. So that's kind of where we're at with IU now, where you have people who are actively preying on their downfall, which is just a crazy thing to say.
Coming up, we will get the Patriots side of things, again, joint practice with them coming up tomorrow, where things for Drake May and company. We'll chat with Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald about that. Much more on 2 Colts practices over the weekend. What did Anthony Richardson have to say about his roster status and the pending trade request? All that coming your way. Some goats of the weekend as well. Kevin Bell with James Boyd, Mark Dykton here. We're not going to be together very much this week, but we are here on this Monday. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, James is off to the Northeast coming up here later this morning. Colts Patriots joint practice tomorrow. Reminder, preseason opener is Thursday for the Colts. Everything on the road this week for them. They'll be back at Grand Park coming up Saturday and Sunday. Their final 2 preseason games will be at home, back-to-back Saturdays with Atlanta and Detroit. Shout out here, AJ on the text line. Hey, with all the drama going on, can we step back and have major props to Kelsey Mitchell in her record tornado tear she is on right now? It's 16 straight games of at least 20 points, which is a W record. Is that right?
Yes. Single season WNBA record. She actually broke the record against the Chicago Sky, and now she's going for the all-time record, which is 20 games straight. That's by Asia Wilson, I think, over the course of 2 seasons. So, yeah, I would echo that same statement. Kelsey Mitchell has, in my opinion, been the best player on the Fever this year. And I know how great Caitlin Clark has been, but we look at consistency, availability, and factor all of that in. I would argue that Kelsey may have been a smidge better. And I'm actually curious, Kevin, when we get to, like, postseason accolades, not to say, to be clear, like, these two love each other. I think people try to, like, make it one or the other. They love each other. They work well together. We've seen that marriage this season where Caitlin and Kelsey have just continued to dominate teams from their backcourt perspective. But when it comes to postseason accolades, I want to see where everyone kind of lands, because I think an argument could be made that Aaliyah, Kelsey, and Caitlin have all played at a first-team all-WNBA level, but there's only 5 spots. And assuming that one of those goes to Asia Wilson, who's probably the front runner for MVP, and Olivia Miles out with Minnesota is playing amazing as well. She's probably been the best guard overall in the league this year. She'll get a spot, I would assume. So it leaves 3 spots. Who gets them? And not to mention Kelsey Mitchell was first team all WNBA last year. So, yeah, I'm just amazed by somebody who is 30 years old continuing to get better at what she's done. She's averaging a career high in points this year. And the last thing I'll say about it, Kevin, is she's making it difficult to decide, and this is a good problem to have, where do you want to go with the future of your team? Because right now, Kelsey Mitchell's on a 1-year deal. She's on a max deal. It's $1 million. Aaliyah Boston's already on a max deal for multiple years. And then next year, Caitlin Clark is eligible to get her max contract. The salary cap in the WNBA is only about $7 million. So if you have $3 million players, assuming you retain Kelsey Mitchell, then that means people like Sophie Cunningham and others may not be around next year because you might not be able to afford everybody if you want to try to run it back. So, do you keep Kelsey Mitchell here, even though she's a little bit older than your young core of Aaliyah and Caitlin, or do you let her leave and try to build, with better role players, so to speak? There's a lot of questions to be had. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I think that just puts more emphasis on this year right in front of us.
Yeah, that to me is the big thing. I think it's a reminder of that last point right there of how vital this season is, because keeping this group together is probably unlikely based off the finances and having to juggle all those puzzle pieces. 2 big ones this week: Liberty tomorrow night, Wings on Friday. You look at the standings right now, it is very jumbled there and secure in home court. So a very important week for the Fever. Mark Dykton, should we hit our GOATs of the weekend?
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
Where do you want to start, Mark? Positive, negative?
Let's go negative. Let's go negative on this Monday morning. We've been
salty
positive.
Monday.
Yeah. The early reviews for the Buffalo Bills' $2 billion stadium are in, and they don't seem to be as glowing as you would expect with a stadium that starts with a B when it comes to the cost. They had a family night or something over there out in Orchard Park over the weekend, and fans were complaining that the video board was very small for a 2026 brand new stadium. They said the sight lines were obstructed by quite a few views where you had people literally like going up glass staircases that were blocking views and everything. They said the first 5 to 10 rows of the upper level were blocked out by people walking. Not ideal. Not ideal for that.
Yeah, I'm bummed by that because I think that's one of the more like pure college atmospheres I always felt like in going there. So that is a bummer.
I did like did you see the giant table broken?
Yeah.
In the in the concessionary? That was actually pretty cool though.
Yeah, that was awesome. James, what do you got for your negative go to the week?
Oh, this is probably controversial, but I went to the state fair yesterday. Shout out to Caleb Zuver. He had never been, one of the producers here at 107.5 The Fan. So I was like, you know what? I've already sweat a lot at camp. I'm not about to take another shower before I head to this thing. I'll just sweat again and take a shower at night. So we went, and I think lemon shake-ups are the most overrated thing about the Indiana State Fair. That's my bad go to the week. I think every time I get one, I'm like waiting for something else to happen or for it to taste better. I could just get regular lemonade, and it would be just fine.
Why'd you cave? Why didn't you dabble with something else?
I think because I'm like, okay, I've had it maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm like, maybe I'm just like not getting the right batch, or this station that I got it from isn't doing their thing. I am convinced that I will never buy one ever again. Most overrated thing at the fair. But do love the state fair. I recommend you all going. I know it's supposed to be rainy this week, so, I guess plan accordingly. But I enjoyed the fair. Overall, though, I still think, I'm probably getting to my good go a little bit, but there was some good go parts of the state fair.
My negative goat is yours truly. Big ol' softy Kevin Bowen. Mark, every time I think about Rosie Bowen going to kindergarten on Wednesday, I start to just... Damn.
Mm-hmm.
She's growing up.
I know.
Why can't I just let that happen? Why do I have to be like so emotional about it? And I don't want her to... Kindergartner? School?
I know.
5 days a week? All that?
We're with that. Nora's in kindergarten now. It's like, where's she at? Usually she was home when I would come home, and now she's gone with her big sisters at school all day.
Oh, man. Yeah, gosh, my palms are sweaty, and it's not because of Marshall Mathers right now that I'm thinking about it. So I will not be here Wednesday. I will be trying to be a morning parent for the very rare occasions that I'm ever a morning parent here.
Bring some tissues, keep it together.
Gosh, big old softy. Negative go to the week, yours truly.
You're going to blink in it. She's going to be in 4th grade like my oldest, because I was like, 4th grade already? Good grief. Where did the time go?
I know. I just need to allow for life to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Easier said than done.
Well, enjoy that big monumental moment there for yourself.
Where are you going for your good?
I am going with the powers that be standing up against FIFA. UEFA, CONCACAF, and the Asian Football Confederation, also known as the AFC, standing up to FIFA, saying there's a breach of trust and deception going on as FIFA is trying to sell a stake in the World Cup to a private equity, and all the big leagues are saying, not going to happen. We will not participate if this happens. Stop being greedy. Infantino, kick rocks. So I am all for that. The World Cup is great as it is. I don't want to see any private equity of any sort. No. No, thank you.
I always love when Mark says kick rocks.
Yeah. And honestly, I am with you on that. I think that's a slippery slope to be kind of diving into.
I do. Let's not make it too,
FIFA's already got plenty of slippery slopes.
Exactly.
We don't need to add another one.
James, where are you going for your positive goat?
Okay, so back to the state fair, the dairy bar. I feel like that always makes things great. It is cost effective, it's quick, and it's good. Got a milkshake, got a grilled cheese, and I think Caleb Zuver, for his first experience, really enjoyed it.
My positive go to the week, one of my favorite athletes of all time, Ichiro. Did you see Ichiro in the Seattle Mariners alumni home run derby?
Was he balling?
The man turns 53 years old in October. 53 years old. He hits 6 homers in round 1 of the Mariners. And we're talking like legit homers. Over the fence, real field, et cetera, et cetera. The man's 52 years old.
So
the swing still looks exactly the same. I love Ichiro. I love it.
Yeah, he's a great player, all-time great player. Can I ask you this? Are there certain guys, and women we can include in this as well, that you just think no matter how old you get, for as long as you live, I will always think you could probably get me like one hit or 1 bucket. Like, I think LeBron James at like 55 years old could get me 1 bucket in an NBA game.
Ichiro could hit 300 right now. He could hit 300 in Major League Baseball right now. He'd be the Reds' leadoff hitter. which isn't really saying much.
Ichiro is great. He's awesome.
Mark, the swing looks exactly the same. And I'm like, what? I mean, don't you lose that now? I mean, don't you lose some of the strength, some of the power? I mean, it's not like he was this, huge power hitter to begin with. But gosh, when I saw that he was going to turn 53 in October, I was like, oh man, that makes me sad. But then I just watched his swing and I was like, that thing is beautiful.
And then the fact that he did it at such a late stage in his career, it's not like he was like fresh out of he's like 19 or something coming to the big leagues. He was, well into his 20s by the time he hit there. So the fact that he had the Hall of Fame career and put up the stats he did is just incredible.
I think I'm going to teach Max Bowen how to swing like Ichiro.
Him or Griffey. Either one of those, you'd be solid.
Yeah, Griffey's got the sweetest swing probably I've ever seen.
Griffey will stop and make your head turn like it's, well.
The fact that his dad was that great and he was that great is awesome.
Yeah.
The rule for that, though, is you have to have Max Bowen put the hat on backwards. That's when when he's in the zone.
Say, hey, kid, baby. All right, 9 o'clock hour upcoming. The Colts are off to New England, take on the Patriots in a joint practice. We'll get you set for that. James Boyd's got a flight here later this morning. What did we witness over the weekend at Colts practice? We'll continue to share some thoughts on that front as well. Good Monday morning to you. Thanks for spending with us right here, Fan Morning Show.
The Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, as if I needed to love Ichiro anymore. We just did our GOATs of the week. Ichiro Suzuki going yards 6 times in the Seattle Mariners home run derby at the age of 52 was my great GOAT of the weekend. Tucker Barnhart listening, as always. We appreciate that from Tucker. He goes, as recent as last year, Ichiro is always in uniform before the games, plays long toss, and throws BP to the Mariners players. And then he added this. He goes, apparently one of his favorite places ever is California Pizza Kitchen. I used to love that in the mall.
I've always seen it. I don't think I've ever had it. Was I missing out?
Yes, California Pizza Kitchen. I don't know. Maybe it was just somehow like eating a meal at the mall. You just felt like you were on top of the world. But I swear I love that place so much. So he goes, in an effort to surprise Ichiro, Joey Votto wanted to send him pizza one day. Well, there's no California Pizza Kitchens in Cincinnati. So Votto pays a member of the clubhouse staff to drive all the way to Louisville to get some California Pizza Kitchen, a dozen pizzas, so Ichiro would have options. How great is that?
Better brought an oven with them to get it back there warm enough.
You imagine the back seat just on fire. Turn on those seat warmers. All of a sudden, keep those pizzas warm the whole way back.
I mean, one of those delivery bags that has like the thermal stuff.
It says Votto loved Ichiro. Gosh, that makes me even happier because I love Joey Votto too. Man, I love Ichiro.
Yeah, I don't see any locations even remotely close to us.
Yeah, I've been to California Pizza Kitchen in Illinois a couple of times, actually. Good place to grab a bite. I would definitely.
What's that drive,
agree.
Cincy to Louisville? A couple hours, 2? Less than that, 90?
Yeah, I think it's a little less, right? Now, I've done it just passing through going to Nashville, so it can't be that far.
Now I'm here on Google Maps.
I know, I'm trying to look it up.
I had to look myself,
how far
too.
Are we looking
I
here?
definitely have been there, though. It's good. It's good food.
Hour 34.
It's not bad.
Gosh, how nice that'd be to have that type of money. Oh, yeah. Send the clubhouse staffer to drive to and fro to get a dozen pizzas for Ichiro.
Pressure's on you to be that staffer, too, to get it back. What's taking so long?
You would talk about prize cargo, Important cargo, to say the least. Speaking of important cargo, James Boyd going he's not even checking a bag today. He's just going carry-on for his trip out to New England. Colts, Patriots.
I hate checking bags.
Coming up tomorrow. Yeah, you aren't checking. Are you? I guess internationally is probably the only time you're checking the bag.
Yeah, that's right. The only time I do it, and that's usually because I, got to have a couple of different outfits and things like that. But, yeah, I'm a carry-on guy. I remember going on a road trip when I covered the Pacers for a year, and we might have been gone for like 11 days, and I made sure I had enough underwear and a couple of different pairs of pants, and I was like, as long as I change my shirt every day, we're fine.
How many starters do you think play on Thursday?
That's a great question. So we're saying of the 22 that we assume are starters or in that sort of realm, I think it'll be the young potential starters, if that makes sense. So
like AJ Halsey?
Like AJ Halsey should play. Bryce Betcher, who I think quietly is making a case to be a starting linebacker.
Better chance Bryce Betcher starts or CJ Allen?
That's a question that I probably would have laughed at the beginning of the summer, but I actually think that right now, today, Bryce probably has a better chance because he's simply played more. And I think that he's been solid. Now, granted, they continue to rotate a lot of these linebackers, but yeah, it isn't a whole lot of, I guess a lot of information to work with when it comes to that group.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I say which starters are going to start, part of me is like, boy, a wideout and linebacker right now, I don't really know who the starters are. So it's like, do you play them? For those that haven't been keeping up to date with Colts camp, CJ Allen, the rookie linebacker out of Georgia, has missed, 4 straight practices? 3 straight practices, something like that, with a hamstring injury. So he has had 3 separate leg injuries in the last 12 months. I want to say it was a knee injury earlier, or I guess earlier, I should say, in his off season, because he didn't run the 40 at the combine, right? Didn't he have like a separate pro day or something to run this 40 right before the draft started? And then he had a calf injury that had him miss in the first 2 days at Grand Park, and now he's had this hamstring injury, which now is, missing these 3 or 4 days. You think these Little League World Series head coaches, do you think they got to take PTO to go coach these kids at Williamsport?
Yes. Unless they're a part of some AAU program or something, because I know there's a lot of money in that stuff now, or I don't know if you can do it year round. But assuming they're regular adults, yeah. But I think got to be a cool PTO entry.
A lot of money, and they just show the height and weight of the kid up the bat, and he's 4'11", 105 pounds.
I always love when they bring out like the kid who's obviously developing faster than his peers, and he's like just like the cleanup guy.
Well, I always said the issue with Danny Almonte is they should have shaved his trash stash before he went out there to pitch. Come on now. That was so obvious once I saw that. I mean, look at this kid. This kid doesn't have an ounce of facial hair on his body.
Oh, my gosh.
Pitching right now for Massachusetts. This is live, 9 a.m. in the morning. We got the Little League World Series on.
You know what? But it usually will draw me in, mainly because I enjoy the chaotic nature of Little League Baseball. Like, it's just not going to be as clean of a sport as we see, obviously, in the majors. So I like that an error could decide the game.
I think it's so stressful to watch.
I just wouldn't want to be a parent of a kid in it.
You better back up every base because, boy, those errors are coming. And how many times is that, little Johnny going to be running around the base pass?
Yeah.
How many?
See? Well, what did I just say?
Yeah.
Well, that was a ball or whatever.
Pass ball, wild pitches galore.
Yeah, that was a wild pitch there.
I'm going to echo what I said kind of in that 7 o'clock hour, James. I do feel like wide receiver-wise right now, the last 2 practices, it stood out to me just the lack of, some might say the lack of quality, period. I'm going to say the lack of quality depth just because they are injured right now. Pierce, Josh Downs, especially. But, like, I look at Saturday's practice, Daniel Jones, I think like 80% of his completions that day were to running backs and tight ends. It's not ideal in terms of trying to create some big plays. Yesterday, I thought was their hardest day to move the football. Jones was picked twice. Now, to be fair to him, one was just a flat-out drop by Jonathan Taylor right into Cam Bynum. But that was a play that, A, was going nowhere. B, if Taylor catches it, it's a blown-up screen, losing yards. C, disaster strikes. He drops the ball. Turns into a pick 6. The other play was looking for Nick Westbrook-Akine over the middle, and they just weren't on the same page. Westbrook-Akine either ran his route too short or too far, but the pass was a little bit out of the catch radius of him. He's extending his body, goes off his fingertips, boom, A.J. Halsey pick. In practice yesterday, it's a field goal drive, down 1, 50 seconds to go. Got to get into field goal range, hurry up, quick tempo, and they go 2 of 5 on the drive. And I think Spencer Schrader missed a 55-yarder. So, again, settling for a 55-yarder obviously brings some risk into it. So, these last 2 days, James, and I'm curious what tomorrow will look like. Again, Josh Downs could be back, but we know Christian Gonzalez is a great corner for the New England Patriots. We know in general the Patriots defense is great. How does this group look against that?
Yeah. And again, the first opportunity for them to just see somebody different and to be challenged in a way where you're not necessarily trying to make each other better. Like the Patriots couldn't care less about the success of the Colts and vice versa. So I kind of like that aspect too. It's as close as we'll get to real football until we get to the regular season. I get that preseason games matter as well, but for the starters, you mentioned who's going to play Thursday. I'm not doubting, the availability of the main guys when it comes to Tuesday, which quietly is probably more important for this team.
Mark, let's play the Anthony Richardson audio from yesterday. This was Richardson about the trade request. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Again, is it still on the table? This is the first time Richardson has spoken here in training camp. Here was the former top 5 pick yesterday.
I haven't really even talked to my agent about that recently. I haven't talked to Ballard or anybody about that recently, so I'm not necessarily sure what's going on with that, but I'm just here right now, trying to make sure I can, stamp my foot on this team and, just be the best version of myself I can be for the team. Man, that's what the team wants, that's what I want. I just want to be able to, help a team. If it's this team, then I thank God for it. I'm just ready to showcase what I can do and just, be a winning piece to help the team win.
So the second part of that answer was a question that was thrown at AR to say, do you expect to be here? And he says again, if that's what the team wants, that's what I want. So kind of a weird answer there because I'm like, dude, for all the candidness that you've provided throughout the years, you could just stand up here right now and say, actually, I don't want to be traded anymore, and I would like to be here. Or you could say, you know what? Yeah, that trade request is still out there. I want to get moved. So there's some ambiguity there. But the bottom line is, with the way he's looked in training camp, I would be shocked if any team traded for that. I don't see the point in giving up draft capital for that.
Yeah, I mean, preseason games, he should look better because he's allowed to run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I also think that, real quick, he's like a rhythm player, and I think that it's hard for him to like get a rhythm when he just doesn't get the same amount of snaps.
I think Saturday he got 5 snaps.
Yeah.
The whole practice.
Yeah.
5 snaps. Which, yes, to your point, I think it's a good one. We'll see how they divvy it up between Anthony and Riley coming up Thursday, but that is the expectation. Those two receive the majority of those. It sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, James, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this. I expressed to you a little earlier in the show, the thought has now entered my mind, and Mark brought this up a little bit Friday. The thought has now entered my mind, like, could Anthony Richardson just be cut with all the other dudes that get cut on August 30th? Could he just be part of the massive press release of 90 moving to 53? And, oh, yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt is suspended for the first game. And, oh, this guy is going to be on IR because he had injury that popped up. And then on the 20 names that get whatever waived and released and all the different definitions, he's one of them. Like, that thought now is a little bit more on my mind. And again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like your hesitancy there is almost Chris Ballard's ego not wanting to cut him. Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a little bit of that. I do want to say he did say on the record, he being Chris Ballard, back before camp started, that his expectation for now is to keep all 3 quarterbacks. So I'll make that very clear. So I'm kind of working with that too, Kevin. But that was obviously before we saw the performance in camp. And to be fair to AR and to be fair to what you've laid out here throughout the show, it isn't all on him. I do think that some of the snap issues we've seen were because of the backup center. Dalton Tucker had a couple of ones that weren't so great. And, you know, he is working with the 2s and 3s, but that's also what you are now. You're a 2 or a 3. And you kind of have to own that and maximize the opportunities you get. And I just haven't really felt that from AR. So if it gets to a point where he is QB3, yeah, I would have a hard time thinking that they actually just flat out cut him. Mainly because I look at it like this too, Kevin. Like, what's the harm in keeping him? Seriously.
Right. I mean, that's where I've kind of been. I'm just like, I don't think he's this massive distraction at all.
No.
Hell, day 9 of training camp is the first time he's spoken. Listen to his comments about the trade request. Seems pretty harmless to me. You needed 3 quarterbacks last year. As weird as it sounds, and some people might scoff at this, I do think he has a skill set that all of a sudden, if you needed him to go win 1 football game during the week, hell, just run him.
Yeah.
run him. You know, when you think back to the Patriots win, you think back to the Jets win a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he made some huge plays in the fourth quarter, you know, with his legs. And I do think Shane Steichen kind of has that element to him. So
I'll say this real quick. We got this from Hoosier 1997, one of our P1 listeners. Thanks for listening every day. He says, no one wants constant questions about their third string quarterback. I'll just say this. The only reason we're discussing it, or at least I'll speak for myself, is because it's a camp battle. And it is kind of newsworthy who becomes your backup, given the injury history of Daniel Jones. But I would assume for myself, when we get into the season, I'm not talking about Anthony Richardson every other day like we have here on the show. We're going to be talking about QB1, who is Daniel Jones, who, by the way, is, I think, the key to all of this. If he goes down, we can debate Riley or Anthony or whatever, but I think their season will be cooked anyway. But, yeah, I just want to make that clear. Like, yeah, it's a topic for now, but not something that I'm going to be thinking of super consciously, just because so much is riding, and rightfully so, on the quarterback you just gave 2 years and $88 million to.
Hell, I don't even think last year there were that many questions about him during the season when he was the backup.
No.
It was like every couple of weeks, it's like, how's Anthony doing?
Yeah, how's the eye?
Well, even before the eye. Like,
yeah. Oh, fair.
The first, month and a half before he got the eye injury, it was just kind of like, hey, how is practice working for him? How are you trying to further develop a guy that's still in year 3
right.
of the NFL and was an incredibly raw prospect. And I think if you parsed out how many questions Steichen has had here through camp, I don't know, he's been asked 80-some questions, 100-some questions. A handful of them have been about, which, again, it is a competing job for the backup.
Right.
That is still ongoing. And for what it's worth, they still are kind of splitting the reps seemingly evenly.
Yeah, the reps haven't changed. The reason why I put in my little stock up or stock down report from yesterday over at The Athletic was because of what I think will happen. Like, the reps have stayed the same, but what has happened in those reps leads me to believe that right now I would have it Daniel Jones clearly number one, never debate there, but number two, Riley above Anthony. We have this from IU fan in Texas from our YouTube chat. He says, AR is news as he was a number 4 freaking pick. That's also true. I think it's newsworthy, not just for ourselves, but for the national media, because anytime you ever see a first-round pick that doesn't pan out, especially when it comes to a quarterback, a top 5 pick, it is kind of newsworthy until that situation is kind of resolved. And that's kind of the other thing, too, Kevin. It's just hanging over the franchise. Do I want to be traded? Do I not want to be traded? Is he going to be here? Is he not? We need something to just be definitive. That way it's not sort of like this, well, is there an update question that we have to ask AR? I mean, we'll probably talk to him again at some point, and then is it not fair to ask him, okay, well, the season is here now. Are you still wanting to be traded? Like, you haven't really changed your mind, so it's a weird situation.
To be clear, the most important thing at quarterback right now for the Colts, 9 practices in, over 100 at starting reps, and Daniel Jones has taken every single starting rep. So that's easily the most important thing, frankly, for the whole football team, but especially at that position. Reminder, Doug Kyde, we'll get New England side of it. Where do things stand for the Patriots as they welcome the Colts in town for joint practice coming up to tomorrow and a preseason opener on Thursday? Mark, let's go ahead and check it out.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
So again, that's the schedule for this week. Joint practice tomorrow morning. James will be out there for that. And then the preseason opener on Thursday. No Daniel Jones. I would expect very limited starters. A lot of Anthony Richardson, a lot of Riley Leonard. Colts back to Grand Park Saturday and Sunday. Those are 4 o'clock start times each of those 2 days. And that's 4 practices left at Grand Park. Just 4 practices left here at Grand Park. Guys, that kid just mashed one to left field for Massachusetts. Man, that was a bomb.
And again, look how big this kid looks.
Gosh.
Looks huge.
Yeah, that was huge. Little League World Series on. Gosh, I do love the home run celebrations for these kids. All right, Fever action coming up. What do they got? Tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Liberty in town. They've split with them. James, I want to reiterate this. You look at the standings right now, 4 through 8. The Fever are in 4th. That would be the final home court spot in round 1. 4 through 8 is separated by a game and a half. So you could go from being home court in round 1 or to having to go play the Minnesota Lynx on the road.
That's true,
and
man.
that's a game and a half.
I know.
And a half game behind them is the team they'll play tomorrow night. A game and a half behind them in the 8th spot is the team they'll play Friday in Dallas. So a massive week. If we could somehow put all the drama to the back burner, this is a massive week for the playoffs and home court.
Yes, I do love to talk about actual basketball. And when it comes to Caitlin, I know she's sitting at 7 techs. For the basketball purposes, she's got to make sure, and the refs honestly have to make sure they don't give her a tech for no reason like they did the other day, to make sure she's available. Because if you get to 8 techs in a season, you get suspended for 1 game. So Caitlin has been on her best behavior. I will credit her for that. She's played great as of late, and you want to make sure she continues to do so by being available for her team.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing, while I think the W has problems top down, starting with their commissioner, I will give them credit as a league for very, 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 very quickly Saturday afternoon rescinding that technical. It was a wrong decision. I get it. It's in the heat of the game. Sometimes mistakes happen like that. So when they do, correct them as quickly and efficiently as possible, and they did that by rescinding Caitlin Clark's technical from Saturday. Major League Baseball over the weekend. Let's actually start here. How about the Indians? 4 different pitchers combining on a 1-hitter yesterday over at Victory Field. They're in Nashville the rest of this week. And then they will be at home, back-to-back home series. Pretty rare for them. They'll have that to close out August. Mark, your Cubs trying to reel in the Brewers, but it's a little bit more difficult than just winning.
Yeah, the Brewers keep winning, but now they're actually going to have some competition coming up the next couple of weeks. So hopefully the Cubs can catch them a little bit. This might be a hot take. I think the Cubs will catch the Brewers.
Oh, why didn't you say that when Joel Erickson was on earlier?
I was marinating, letting it think about it, and I looked at their schedule for August and
He was
September.
ducking the smoke.
No, I will text them that right now. I was looking at both teams' schedules for August, September. I'm like, you know what? There's an opportunity here, boys. Think we can get them.
So unlike Tommy McClellan, the Purdue AD, who he didn't want to duck the smoke, he went right at him. You decided to hide.
I did a little schedule viewing. I wanted to see if they were going to, I didn't want to play in the Louisville Bats or anybody. So I was trying to see who they played.
You were saying AD McClellan should have maybe followed that suit there.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? Reds, they're horrific at baseball. Cardinals over the Rockies, White Sox over the Guardians, Brewers over the Pirates. That is a little weekend or a Sunday wrap, I should say. Alex Pillows' dominance continues over the weekend. He wins out in Portland. Felix Rosenquist, the second-place driver, rounding out the podium. Kyle Kirkwood, good weekend for Andretti Racing. 3 of their drivers in the top 6 out there. Shout out to Rinus VeeKay. Continues to have a couple of really impressive finishes on not one of the more prevalent teams there in IndyCar. It is a busy month of August. Canada next week, the Freedom 250 in our nation's capital. The weekend after that. Did I see, I think Sam King, who we've had on before, Lafayette Courier-Journal, mentioned this. Do you see Drew Brees was at Purdue practice today?
Nice. Did he tell the players, hey, if you want to win championships, don't go to Indiana?
Well, I don't know what line he dropped, but Drew Brees, of course, in Canton, Ohio this weekend to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and makes a little pit stop there in West Lafayette on his way back. We are supposed to have Barry Odom at some point, Mark, you said?
Yeah, that's the plan. They're trying to line up their days off because they have morning practices usually, so we need to catch them on a day off.
We will, speaking of guests, chat with Doug Kyde. Boston Herald going to join us next. Where are the New England Patriots at? Strengths, weaknesses, any injuries to keep an eye out for? Colts have a joint practice with them coming up tomorrow. Preseason opener Thursday. We'll do that on the other side. Before that, let's get a little Mother Nature update.
Today's forecast from the Fox 59 Weather Authority.
There is a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms today. One round this morning with another round developing tonight. It will be hot, humid, and breezy with a high at 91 degrees this afternoon. I am Fox 59 meteorologist Amber Hardwick for The Fan.
Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
Well, I do say this in all seriousness. And again, Doug Kyde, Boston Herald, about to join us. We'll preview Colts and Patriots joint practice coming up mañana. You know, people ask me, hey, just move Anthony Richardson to tight end. He's got issues catching snaps right now. Like, can you imagine him catching a football? I say that in all seriousness, given the vision issues that he has had, then that doesn't even begin to get into the health question of durability of playing that position. But that's the reality of where we're at with the number 4 overall pick from a few years ago. No issues with the top 5 pick from a few years ago up in New England. Drake May and company getting ready for the Super Bowl appearance encore to talk more about the state of their team. Again, it is Doug Kyde, Boston Herald, joining us here on this Monday morning. Doug, thank you for the time, man. We appreciate it.
Anytime, absolutely.
So off to New England for the Colts joint practice coming up tomorrow. Let's just go here. Biggest strength, biggest weakness, you would say, as the Colts get ready to line up against the Patriots tomorrow?
I would say biggest strength, Drake May and the passing game overall. They've got a deep group of wide receivers. They might even wind up keeping 7 guys this year just because the group is so deep. And then obviously Drake May, number 2 in MVP voting last year. Certainly a chance for him to take even bigger steps this year. You know, second year with Josh McDaniels, better offensive weapons overall, better offensive line. And then the biggest weakness right now is probably the pass rush, just because there's not a lot of certainty there. You've got Draymond Jones, who's always been a serviceable NFL player, but nothing really beyond that. Elijah Ponder, an undrafted guy last year, is the other starter right now because Harold Landry is out with an injury. And then the second-round pick, Gabe Akis. He's looking decent out there, but he missed the entire spring, missed the first week of training camp without signing his contract, being on the NFI list. So I'm not sure how much they can pressure the quarterback at this point.
Again, that is the voice of Doug Kyde. He covers the Patriots for the Boston Herald. And honestly, I need to introduce myself in person when I see you, Doug. I feel like a longtime Twitter friend, and I'll make sure to shake your hand tomorrow when I see you. But sticking with the strength of that Patriot squad, the wide receiver room, and Drake May, A.J. Brown, big addition there. I'm looking forward to the matchup with Sauce Gardner. But how would you say his maybe influence has been felt in that wide receiver room? And do you look forward to that matchup tomorrow with Best on Best?
I do look forward to that. And, yeah, it sounds like he's had a good influence overall in the wide receiver room. It's a different type of personality from what they had last year, where you had Stephon Diggs in there. He was maybe a little bit more vocal, more talkative. I think A.J. Brown's a little bit more laid back. And then you've got Romeo Doubs in there as well now, who's another super laid back guy from California. Kind of has that like California surfer mentality more than what you might expect out of a wide receiver. So it's kind of a different vibe in there, but I've heard that it's been nothing but good things in the wide receiver room. They're all really pushing each other because it is such a deep group. And, you know, for A.J. Brown, I think going up against Sauce Gardner is going to be like going up every day in practice, where he's going up against Christian Gonzalez every day. So it'll be another good test for him, a different type of cornerback than Christian Gonzalez. But I think that that's really ideal right now, where he's already gone up against one of the best in the NFL in Christian Gonzalez. Now he gets to go up against another one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL who's got a little bit of a different style. Then when the Eagles come to town, he'll take on some other different cornerbacks. So really good summer for him to get a lot of different looks, but really excited to see who's able to win that matchup, because it's been pretty even so far between Brown and Gonzalez through the first 2 weeks of camp.
And that's the voice of Doug Kyde. You can find his work at the Boston Herald. Colts and Patriots preseason opener Thursday. Joint practice coming up tomorrow morning. Doug, we did see a little bit, I guess, off the beaten path here, but Adam Vinatieri went in the Hall of Fame this weekend. And if you look at his career, obviously, he doesn't go into the Hall of Fame without what he did in New England, to say the least, with those Super Bowl kicks. It almost seemed like his career, though, has turned a little bit more into he probably wants to be remembered more as a Colt, and his relationship with the Colts and now living here, and the Irsay family presents him into the Hall of Fame and all of that. Did you sense like there was, I don't know, an awkward exit? I mean, I guess I'm going, asking you to go back like a decade plus, but it just seemed like the weekend had more of a Colts flavor to it than a Patriot flavor to him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, he was with the Colts obviously longer than when he was with the Patriots. I think I don't know, public-wise, like I think you would possibly be remembered maybe for the Patriots more than the Colts just because there were so many different Super Bowl moments. But I can understand for him, having spent so much time in Indianapolis and probably just maturing as a human being in Indianapolis, that he might look at that as the best years of his career. So, yeah, it's funny. When he left New England, if you had told someone back in whatever that was, 2005, 2006, yeah, Adam Vinatieri's going to go into the Hall of Fame, but like it's going to be a Colts type of day rather than a Patriots day. I don't think anyone would have really believed that, given how much he meant to the Patriots franchise. But I would also say that like this isn't tooting the New England horn or tooting the Boston horn or anything like that, but so many other players have come through New England since Adam Vinatieri, and like entire generations of human beings have been born and raised since he last played in New England, that I don't know if it felt awkward. It feels a little bit weird, but, when Brady's inducted and Gronk is inducted and Belichick's eventually inducted, those will all probably mean more to this current crop of Patriots fans than Vinatieri would anyway. But no, it was interesting hearing his cracks about Bill Belichick, and even kind of odd that Belichick wasn't there since Vinatieri helped him win 3 Super Bowls. So, yeah, definitely an odd weekend.
Again, that is Doug Kyed, kind enough to join us. He is covering the Patriots for the Boston Herald. Last one I got for you, Doug. We are in a very weird spot here in Indianapolis where the Colts drafted Anthony Richardson, number 4 overall in 2023, and now we're asking ourselves, could he be cut at the end of training camp? Whereas with the Patriots, they drafted Drake May, 3rd overall the following year after Anthony Richardson, and now he's looked at as the guy who will be there for years to come in New England. So all of that in mind, what's the level of like relief that maybe the fan base feels that they found the guy, but also the pressure of, okay, well, you teased us with a Super Bowl run last year, and now we got to try to go, win it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think for some people in New England, it's basically Super Bowl or bust. Again, for the Patriots this year.
You don't say. New England of all places? Wow.
I know, right? It's the fan base here it's one of the best in the world, but they don't leave this team any room for error. So, no, definitely Super Bowl or bust. I think there is a lot of pressure for this team to do well again this season, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge sense of relief. And it's funny because I forgot where we were. I think we were in New Orleans or something the last year or two, and there was a bunch of Patriots fans there, and Drake May just had a good game. And some Patriots fans came up to us to talk, and we're like, "Oh, Drake May, good game." And the fan was like, "Yeah, we finally found a new quarterback." It's like, bro, it has been like 4 years. Most teams haven't found a quarterback in like 60 years. I think that goes to show, obviously, how spoiled some Patriots fans can be, but that's the expectation here. And it's interesting because I think that Bill Belichick was actually a pretty big fan of Anthony Richardson coming out of that 2023 NFL draft. They at least talked to him at the Combine that year, despite the fact that they had just drafted Mac Jones 2 years earlier. So there's some alternate universe out there where Anthony Richardson is actually a member of the Patriots, and maybe that means that they don't take Drake May a year later. So definitely should be a sense of relief from Patriots fans for that.
Boy, could you imagine the craziness of all of that?
Oh,
and the
my
dominoes
goodness. Doug twisting a knife here on this Monday morning.
I don't know if my brain's ready to process that here on this Monday morning. Doug, thanks for welcoming James over or out to New England tomorrow, and really appreciate the insight here on this Monday morning. So thanks for the time.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
Doug Kyed, Boston Herald right there. He mentions they're pretty deep right now at wide receiver. So obviously
7 guys, he said, can make the team. And we're looking in just to see if they have 7 bodies out there to run a practice.
Which I kind of look at that at 2 different things. One, obviously that should be a good test for the Colts and their defensive backs coming up tomorrow. And certainly Drake May's presence will aid in that. But then I also take it a little bit from a reverse side of it, of that means that the Colts staff gets an up-close look at a position group that is, by all accounts, very deep. So the Patriots, in all likelihood, are going to have to cut one of those or 2 of those.
Oh, okay.
7 wideouts.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Now, again, I think the Colts' urgency at receiver should be a little bit more proven than just go find the undrafted free agent that's too good to play on this deep wide receiver core. But it's better than nothing, I guess. So that's kind of something that happens in these joint practices. You occasionally will see, hey, we like this guy in a joint practice against us. We also liked him in the draft. We just didn't have the opportunity to take him. Now's our opportunity to go ahead and pounce on that. One final time, James Boyd's going to be racing off to the airport. It's the Fan Morning Show on a Monday.
Hey, it's Mark. I mentioned it earlier in the show. I was doing some yard work over the weekend, and I was cooking like a holiday ham, sweating profusely. And when I needed some relief, all I had to do was step into my home and get that insanely cool and refreshing air from my Heil system, thanks to the folks at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. They can do the same for you. Don't delay. Give them a call, 317-353-2141, or check them out online at love-hvac.com. Talk to a customer service rep. Set up a house call. Check out all the products and services they provide, like the Heil system they installed in my home. Plus, you can read customer reviews and go over financial options if you need to make that next step. Whether it's a full-blown replacement like I had to do or just a tune-up, the folks at Love Heating Air can take care of you. John and Chris Love, they're fourth-generation owners. They'll make sure you're a satisfied customer. Plus, they've been serving Indianapolis and Central Indiana and family-owned and operated for over a century. That number again, 317-353-2141 or online, love-hvac.com.
This is the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen and James Boyd.
T-minus 1 hour till boarding. Is that right?
That is correct. Well, shout out to the greatest airport in the country, in my opinion, Indianapolis Airport. They get things done around there.
A little direct action to Boston.
Direct action, baby.
And there we go. James Boyd off to New England. It'll be myself and Mark Dykton coming up tomorrow. Will Haskett, right? 10-1. Just chatted with Will outside. Jake Query still coming back from Portland, Mark?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah, didn't red-eye it today.
Well, we're
a little lazy at his older age, quite honestly.
Well, all of us are very lucky for that from 10-1. Will Haskett will bring some terrific insight, as always.
Will Haskett knows where the studio is, and he's not going to be like making us stay for extra 5 minutes.
It was funny. I saw him a break ago out in the room, and I was like, or out in the waiting area, and I was like, oh, damn. Yeah, I forgot you are hosting today, and I'm more or less surprised to see anybody here before 9:55.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, last week, Jake was lost at the state fair. So
couldn't find the dairy bar?
Even though there's a big bottle of milk that pretty much sells this is where we are.
But you found it this weekend, correct?
Found it this weekend, and I honestly think that's probably the best draw at the state fair every year. Like I said, cost effective. It's still very good. It's quick. Can't go wrong with the dairy bar.
Mark Dykton?
Yes?
We've been out there once. How many more times?
Probably. Well, we'll probably bring the girls this time. So yeah, we'll probably get out there at least one more time. $2 Tuesday, I think, is tomorrow. So maybe a little action after school tomorrow.
Yeah, I know a little bit of rain in the forecast here, especially early this week. So we'll certainly keep an eye out for that. What else will be on your mind tomorrow in that joint practice? Again, Colts Patriots tomorrow morning about 10 a.m. The expectation from Indy side of it, I assume New England, you probably won't see a lot of starting action in the actual preseason game on Thursday.
Beyond Daniel Jones, of course, who I'll pay close attention to, I want to see what they do at linebacker. Like, okay, does it continue to rotate? Is there anybody that takes the majority of the first team snaps and things like that? Because as you've seen throughout these practices, Kevin, there really hasn't been a consistent vibe among any linebacker tandem. I wonder if that changes a little bit when you get closer to like this game-like action with the Patriots. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. And then the trenches as well. Latu, you've looked good against guys who, maybe aren't all that. Like, I think he's really got the better of Jalen Travis last couple of days, but what he looked like against the Patriots front and vice versa. Jalen Travis, what do you look like going up against their D-line? And again, I think he has big shoes to fill, and it's kind of quietly gone under the radar. But yeah, he's filling in for a guy now, Braden Smith, who had been a mainstay and really a reliable constant with that line for so many years.
Yeah, the Colts have had a healthy first 9 days of camp for Jones and their starting O-line. Nobody has missed a snap with that starting O-line.
Okay, let's knock on some wood here.
And no one has even been subbed out for, like, competition. We did see Travis bench. Was that the night practice he got benched or Saturday? He had a false start.
Yeah.
On the final period of camp. And so they took him out for one play. But that was it. But there was a question entering camp: would Jalen Farmer, the fourth-round pick out of Kentucky, be competing with Matt Gonzalez at all? We've had full pads on for each of the last 4 practices, not one starting rep for Jalen Farmer. So that is not going to be a competition. I will add something, and, Mark, you and I can probably get into this tomorrow, but James brings up linebacker. Again, C.J. Allen has now missed about a week due to a hamstring injury. Lou Anarumo said over the weekend that there probably will be a good chance that he is rotating linebackers within games in the regular season. Like some specialized roles. I think in years past, we're used to Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed. You are the linebacker for every single snap this game.
Yeah.
Darius Leonard, Bobby Okereke. You guys are the linebackers for every single snap this game. That's typically how most teams do it, but I don't think, according to Lou, I don't think the Colts are necessarily married to that. And if you watch training camp practices right now, they rotate more there than Jake Query rotates his colognes.
So do you think that is a product of not having a guy or two guys?
Yes. Yeah. I think the thought was when they drafted C.J. Allen is he'd be every single snap and he'd be your defensive communicator.
Yeah.
Now, injuries have played into it, but the defensive communicator looks like it's going to be Cam Bynum. And then linebacker, right now, if you said who will be their starting linebacker week 1, again, maybe Allen if he gets back soon. But I might go with Akeem Davis-Gaither and Bryce Betcher or Austin Ajaki. I mean, like, they really have rotated a ton at linebacker. I mean, they've got their undrafted dude at LSU, Whit Weeks, West Weeks.
Yeah, he's got some starting reps.
Right. I look up and I'm like, wow, he's with the starting 11.
Something to think about and keep in mind. So, yeah, I'll bring you all the updates over at The Athletic, and I believe I'll be joining one of the shows tomorrow, whether it's Query and Company or The Drive with JMV.
You've got a Puerto Rican spot, according to Joel Erickson, to hit up?
Yeah, I just follow Joel. Like, I'll probably text him later today and say, hey, what's the move for dinner? You know, put me down as the +1, and we'll talk ball and get some good food. I think, honestly, that's
talking baseball or talking football?
You know I'm talking about football. Talking baseball, Joel is like me sitting in a AP class that I barely passed.
James doesn't drink, but if Joel starts talking baseball and AAA farm systems, he might be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Give me that jug of beer.
Give my
you're
jug
always
of beer.
bragging about.
It's funny that statement has stuck for over a year now. I'm sorry for slandering Joel A. Erickson when we were in Tennessee last year.
And could you fill our audience in on the old jug of beer story?
So I still don't even know what it's called. I think he had a tall boy, and I call it a jug on air.
The jug is very different.
But
so
again,
would you call it a pitcher or just a tall boy?
No, it was a tall boy.
Okay, tall boy.
It definitely was a tall
fair,
boy
okay.
because I had to learn my drinking lingo. But yeah, I think Joel just looked at me, and when he heard what I said, he couldn't even get mad. He was like, "You're just so naive." So yeah, I think it'll stay that way for the most part. Don't plan on drinking this weekend, but you never know. Things might get a little wild on the road.
Again, it's a 10 a.m. start time for the Colts, and then 7:30 preseason opener coming up on Thursday. Mark Dykton, you and I coming up mañana.
Batten down the hatches.
Batten down the again. Shout out to listener. I think it was Cody, right? I was supposed to say Chris. Actually, listener Chris James. He's the one that would send us the golf course picture each day.
Oh yeah,
he's a soccer referee. I didn't know this was a thing in soccer. But I guess some referees, they all have coins, and they exchange coins. Like, you know, the exchanging of pins, if you will.
I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
At the Olympics. So he handed me a coin that had a Notre Dame emblem on the back, and he handed me a second one if you would like one.
Sure.
So this is listener Chris from Muncie. He was over at Colts camp yesterday. But listener Cody and his significant other, Emily, chatting with them, and Cody was great. You know, hey, I love listening in the morning, blah, blah, blah. He's like, but I got to run. I'm off to Costco. I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of an unusual way to maybe like end the combo. And again, zero judgment. Costco, you know, great samples. And then he kind of paused and he started to walk away. He goes, I got to get some toilet paper for Mark.
I'll happily take it. We need to stock up in the house.
Which again, I don't think the toilet paper is the issue. It's more of the decision making of going outside to go number 2 in the yard.
Being a gentleman, I will stand by that.
James, I talked with about, 13 people at Colts camp over the weekend, and not a single one of them supported Mark Dykton's.
You're talking to the wrong people then.
You know what's
Those
crazy is just I get reminded of how many people listen to us, and thank you all for tuning in when moments like that happen. I'm like, oh yeah, there is this person who was driving to work on this random day and heard this crazy story, and they just couldn't wait to see us at camp and talk about it even more.
And I'm kind of like, boy, I'd like to move on from the, turd talk, but I mean, it is kind of outlandish that he did that. I can't let it just be ignored, right?
Right. It's a part of who he is now.
It was a thing that happened. I'm not disappointed that I did it. Nature called and I answered.
I believe you called yourself a gentleman last week.
I was a gentleman.
Was how you described yourself.
A freak.
A gentleman from 10 to 1, Will Haskett, PJ Tour Radio Love here in Will's. Insights, certainly about golf, but he is well-versed in many, many others. The Butler product will be in here from 10 to 1. James Boyd, safe travels.